Chukua hizi vitu zako zote utumbukize, sitaki.
Unajua uko na masikio na uko na macho hata kama umefunga unaniona. Nimekupika 7 hours.
FM ilayska umada.
After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for elected leaders to deliver on their pledges.
To have clean, accessible drinking water across the country.
The hustle of everyday Kenyans is encouraged and rewarded.
Operationalizing Kerugoya Level 5 Hospital.
A functioning school feeding program.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
The percentage of AIDS in 2021 were more than those ones in 2022.
We will not politicize security, because if we do so, we endanger the country.
Every week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
One of the best ways of accelerating national development is through collaboration with county governments.
The Scorecard, coming soon on KBC Channel 1.
Manzi aliniambia ati jana aliota na mimi. Kaya za bunuasi.
Ukumbuki uko na therapy session leo?
Na hiyo ni afternoon. Kuna place nafaa kuwa sahihi.
You don't abandon a child just because mistakes zimefanyika. Heaven knows you wouldn't be having a brother by now.
Unaweza nsakia kakitu, mazemi nadai kujitoa.
Suna zile biashara nyingine ilivamiwa na masanse.
Melissa, nimekuwa nikikutafuta. Sikai. Nimekuja tu kukuambia. Najua mwenye alikuwa baba yako.
No need, I'll take it.
Come on, let me help my little sister. I've got it. Drop. You're shy?
Nothing to be shy about.
Bo, but you are now.
My best friend is pretty much part of my family. She would never do anything to betray me.
I told you before, I'll buy you the same one. But I couldn't find it. Finally, I had time.
I also brought you some breakfast, your favorite egg roll, and also a sandwich.
No need. I never eat breakfast. May I have some? Jenny bought this food. Ask her.
Good morning. Ram and I are making fun of Manchester United fans because we have got 7 days over the days, 7 days. Hey, my friend, that is the best way to start a week. I mean, there is no better way to start a week rather than what happened last night.
One dose for each day.
Yes, that was actually over-the-counter prescription. 1 goal per day for the next 7 days. What?
Just what the doctor wanted.
Yes. So Manchester United went to Anfield sick, and they came back home sicker, if now that is the correct way.
Good morning. Welcome to the program. It's now
The 6th day of March 2023. Welcome to the program. This is Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. How was your weekend? So far, so good, and we are glad that you are up and early with us once again. Now, today we have got plenty to talk about, from politics to socio-economic issues that's affecting you and I. Please talk to us on our social media handles where you're watching us from, and please let us know so that we can get in touch. But right about now, let's get the show on the road. Ram.
And of course, even as we are talking about Manchester receiving its own dose per day, 1 times 1.
Yes, 1 times 1 for the next 7 days. For the next 7 days.
The next 7 days.
Yes.
2023 has been good so far. It has started well, and we thank God that on this 6th day of March, you've managed to join us today. From wherever you're watching us from, thank you so much for choosing KBC Channel 1. As we start this new day, we have a lot in store for you, just as Victor has said. On my end, we shall be talking about a big tech accountability in Africa. In the world of today, technology is growing. We have a lot of algorithms that are advancing as we speak. But now, how can we regulate all the big tech conduct and content moderation in Kenya and Africa, and at the same time protect our online users, in regards to their personal data, privacy, and autonomy? How can we advance digital safety and ensure that the internet space is safe for our people in Kenya and in Africa? Well, today let's talk about the big tech accountability in Africa. Right here on Good Morning Kenya, I shall be joined by Kennedy Wangari, who is a data scientist at UNEP, that is United Nations Environmental Program, coming up in a bit right here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Ram Aguko. Thank you so much for sticking with us and choosing KBC Channel 1. But before all of this, we have Marie on the other side of studio. Marie, good morning, and I hope you are not on the receiving end of the counter for the football match, the 1 times 1 prescription.
Good morning, Ram, and good morning.
Which team do you support? No, Marie, you can do better than that. You can do better than that.
I'm not going to comment. In fact, I just decided I'm not going to comment about last evening or last night's match. Number one, I stand to embarrass myself because I was fast asleep. Secondly, I have friends who are Manchester United fans.
You had an overdose?
So I do not want, probably, so I do not want to say much because I have my friends who are Manchester United, and so if I make some comments, it might rub them the wrong way. So, yeah, but yes, to the winners, keep on celebrating. Manchester United, I encourage you, still another day to fight, so don't give up. So, well, in the news this morning, the LGBTQ debate rages on as insecurity in Samburu claims the lives of 2 children. And who looted the public coffers? Well, Deputy President says he has the answer. These and more stories in our news this morning. Good morning. My name is Maria, and this is Good Morning Kenya, the news in just a short moment. Well, into our first story now, where Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says he will disclose the names of senior government officials who allegedly looted 24 billion shillings from the public coffers. Gachagua says in the next few days, he will reveal the identity of those who took advantage of the 3-month transitional period to execute the haste that left the public coffers dry.
A host of leaders from the Kenya Kwanza coalition attended a Sunday service at the Jesus Winner Ministry in Roysambu, Nairobi. It is at the Jesus Winner Ministry's altar that he hinted he will be naming and shaming senior government officials who served under retired President Uhuru Kenyatta regime responsible for embezzling 24 billion shillings from the public coffers.
Pesa ya Kenya yote saa ile waliona uchaguzi umeharibika walibeba na magunia. Hata hii petition huyu mzee ya maandamano hakuwa anataka, alisukumwa aweke petition to allow them room wakati ya Supreme Court inasikiza kesi waibe mali ya Kenya between the time IBC announced William Ruto as president and the day he was sworn in. They looted more than 24 billion shillings in this country.
The Deputy President backed claims made by the Budget and Appropriations Committee Tuesday that an extra 6 billion shillings was looted through a purported share buyout in Telkom Kenya 3 days to the general election in August.
Pale katika police air wing, pale Wilson, ndio pesa ilikuwa inaletwa na magunia, inawekwa kwa ndege, inapelekwa kwa mtu nyumbani, inapelekwa kwa mwingine. In the next few days, nitatangazia wa Kenya pesa ilienda kwa nani. Wasituletee sisi.
At the same time, he took a swipe at a section of leaders allied to Azimio who are pushing for mass action over the high cost of living. The DP says they are the same individuals behind the daring haste.
We found a broke country with nothing. The little that was remaining waliiba siku za mwisho. Na hawa ndio walikuwa naongoza kusema watu ni wezi. Na hao ndio walikuwa waizi wakuu.
Wakenya wamechoka na siasa. Wamechoka na siasa. Siasa tulipiga kura. Kura ilisha, si kweli? Mshindi akapatikana. Mimi sitakubali mali ya mtu wa Nairobi, biashara ya mtu wa Nairobi, maisha ya mtu wa Nairobi ihatarishwe kwa sababu ya maandamano. No.
Responding to claims that government is targeting high-profile families and their businesses, the Deputy President maintained that government is keen on stabilizing the economy by eliminating monopoly and opening up the market for other traders to supply goods and services.
Why there was a project called Azimio, why that fellow was being chaperoned, it is because they wanted to continue with state capture and monopoly to continue exploiting the people of Kenya. But we are saying that has come to an end. We are going to open up the milk industry. We are going to open up the gas business so that the people of Kenya can benefit.
Thank you, Jacob Curia, there with our first report. Now, 4 people, including 2 children, have been killed by bandits in Samburu County. Residents of Marti, Samburu North took to the streets on Sunday to condemn the killings. It is also reported that more than 200 livestock have been stolen, with over 700 residents at the Karthikiria Manyata forced to flee their homes. Among those that were killed include 2 pastoralists from Lolmogol, Samburu West. Timothy Kipnusu reports.
The death of 4 people in Marti, Samburu North has attracted the wrath of area residents who held demonstrations to condemn the heinous acts on innocent people. The irate residents regretted the spate of killings on their loved ones and called on the government to intervene.
Kwa nini anaua watoto tafadhali? Kwa nini naona watoto analia kwa nyumba na anaua? Na serikali yetu alikuja anasema kila punduki sitakuona hapa. Watoto yote akatupa mafunduki, anasema sawa, tumewacha funduki, wacha tukae na amani.
Napeyo Lokidongo, who lost his relative on the attack, reveals that they are spending sleepless night due to the rising cases of insecurity in the volatile area.
Na sisi tunalia maneno hiyo watoto. Tunauana, tunafanya nini? Siku unang'ang'anya pande moja funduki na wacha pande moja.
Kabla hawajafanya hiyo raid, walikuwa wameenda na hiyo ng'ombe 100. Na hii sio mara ya kwanza wapokoto kuua watoto wetu.
Kwa hivyo sisi tunaomba serikali yetu, kwa sababu tunakupenda, tunataka ufanye hiyo jambo. Operation wache iwe operation kamili ambayo tunataka kuona matunda yake.
More than 200 livestock have been stolen, with over 700 residents at the Kathikiria Manyata forced to flee to safety.
watu 700 ambao walikuwa naishi kwa hii Manyata waliama wakatorokea sehemu nyingine ambayo wanaweza kuwa na wakihofia maisha yao.
Sasa sijui kama nini kitu gani inaendelea hapa. Sisi tumekuwa tunasika wengine, tunaingiza wengine kwa mochari. Mpaka lini? Tunataka kuambia serikali hii ni nini inaendelea katika Samburu County.
Namoru Napei, who lost 2 children in the attack, will not hold her tears. She has called on the government to ensure the perpetrators are brought to book.
Sasa hiyo watu amesumbua sisi sana. Amesumbua sisi sana. Kabisa amemaliza hata watu. Sasa amechukua hapo amechukua ng'ombe sasa mara 2. Ile uchungu iko naye maneno ya watoto si mali. Hiyo mtoto ni mtoto wangu. Alikuwa anachungulia mali. Mimi nakata makaa. Nasema wacha nikulishi tafute chakula akapatie achunge mali.
Among those that were killed include 2 pastoralists from Lolmong, Samburu West.
Now, let's take a look at the political watch, where leaders from political class on Sunday traversed various parts of the country to sell their different agendas to Kenyan on issues including political unity, high cost of living, and the planned Azimio-led mass protests. Here is a look at the politics that shaped the weekend.
The political class went on a series of meetings across the country on Sunday to seek for support from Kenyans on various issues, while commending Investments, Trade and Industry Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria for heeding to his calls of dissolving Chama cha Kazi to fully support the United Democratic Alliance. The newly installed UDH Secretary General Cleophas Malala urged other Cabinet Secretary to follow suit.
He is the first Cabinet Secretary to fold up his party and support His Excellency President William Ruto. And therefore, I'll be requesting his fellow Cabinet Secretaries this week, kindly fold your parties and join the ruling party, UDA.
Amani National Congress has since told of Malala over the calls, despite his commitment to support Kenya Kwanza coalition.
As a party, we do not think that that is important at this stage. Kenya is facing very pressing issues, including issues of security, issues of the economy, and we need to address these issues instead of concentrating on party issues.
In Jesus' precious name. Meanwhile, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Brigade was in Kathioko in Machakos County. Here, Azimio leaders call on the government to fulfill its pledges, among them lowering the high cost of living. The opposition leaders, led by Kalonzo Musyoka and Martha Karua, also assured Kenyans that they will lead peaceful demonstrations. The countrywide demonstration by Azimio la Umoja is scheduled to kick off next week.
Maandamano ambayo yatakuweko itakuwa ya amani, so that Kenyans can speak. Ama sivyo, you be bottomed up. Unakaliwa juu chini, huwezi kupumua. Haiwezekani.
Na sisi hatupigi kifua. Kama hawaamini hiyo, wafungue sava, ukweli ujulikane. Huwezi kuendelea kukalia sava na kukataa ulishindwa. Kukalia sava ni kusema uko na uoga, unajua ikifunguliwa utalala kwako nyumbani, na sio kwa uongozi wa Kenya.
Meanwhile, Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza has lauded what she says was the president's intervention in the recent disagreements between her office and the county assembly members. Kawira says his intervention helped sima opposition against her leadership, noting that this will help her administration deliver services to the people of Meru County.
Wakati rais wetu mpendwa tulipoongea na yeye na akasema lazima kuwe na amani, mama wa taifa, tuliweza kukutana na viongozi wote tukiongozwa na waziri wetu wa kilimo aliyosipita si ndwele tugange yajayo. Kwa hivyo sisi kama executive plus the county assembly of Meru tumeshikana namna hii ili kuleta maendeleo katika Meru yetu. Tunamshukuru Mungu.
A look now at the drought situation in the country, where the county government of Mandera has launched the second round of relief food distribution in the entire county to cushion residents from effects of the drought. The relief intervention is expected to cover 60,000 households across 30 wards, including vulnerable households and IDPs. Mandera Governor Mohammed Adan Khalif urged the national government and the other donors to intervene and to avert loss of lives.
Prolonged failure of rains for 5 consecutive seasons has resulted in inflated prices of foodstuff, which has seen many Kenyans unable to afford the basics. In Mandera, the worst hit areas are Mandera West, Mandera South and Banisa constituencies. Following this, Mandera County government county, the relief intervention is expected to cover 60,000 households across 30 wards and 517 centers, including vulnerable households and IDPs. Mandera County Governor Mohammed Adan Khalif, while launching the food distribution, said they want to ensure those who need it most get the food.
Our population that's actually facing the acute food insecurity is almost 550,000 households. And it will continue becoming even worse as we approach this month. And inshallah, we pray that we're going to get the March, April, May rain, otherwise the situation will going to be very bad.
The governor appealed to national government and development partners to chip in before the situation worsens.
We are really exhausted. Being as the first line of response, the county government, we have been struggling with the mega resources that we have been having, but the challenges is now becoming heavier on us. We really appeal to our development partners to scale up their effort, their support. We call upon the people of Mandera, those who are able, to support their neighbors, their family members, and their friends.
According to the February 2023 Short Range Assessment Report by National Drought Management Authority, the population facing acute food insecurity and requiring humanitarian assistance has increased to approximately 550,000 in Mandera.
We've just done the assessment some few weeks ago, and the report has been out, the short range, and it is very evident that the drought situation is really biting across the county.
Now to the LGBTQ uproar, where public discourse on the Supreme Court verdict approving the formation of a lesbian and gay association remains rife more than 2 weeks after the judges rendered the verdict. First Lady Rachel Ruto, who was attending a church service in Igembe South, Meru County, joined in condemning the verdict by the Supreme Court, saying Kenya is a religious country. This as the clergy continued to express their dismay, maintaining the church will not support the registration of the group as it goes against religious doctrines.
Faithful gathered in church ahead of the Easter celebrations, debate on the Supreme Court tension.
Mambo ingine ya kufanya hii mambo hii, sisi tunasema kwamba hiyo mambo si mzuri na tungependa. We want to strengthen the family institution.
Members of the clergy across the divide, adding their voice to the discourse, say the verdict defied the natural order, biblical teachings, and African culture.
We want to thank him as Catholic Christians for standing firm to defend our Christian and cultural moral values against those who support same-sex marriage.
LGBT is not something that is human and is not something that should be introduced in our country.
In the same breath, a section of legislators are quoting the criteria used by judges to okay registration of the association.
We must reverse that ruling to demonstrate God's holiness. Whether the judiciary reverse it or not, twende kwa bunge, tutengeneze sheria na tukatae.
And I want us to know this one thing, wamama, please. Ya kwamba ni sisi wanaume,
Hakuna mwanaume anashughulikiaga mwanaume mwingine. Mimi ningesema kama vile rais wa hapa jirani wetu Uganda Museveni alisema, kuna wawili walipatwa wakawekwa ndani, akasema watatoka ile siku watazaa mtoto.
They must be stopped, and I'm coming to Parliament with that bill. They must be stopped from the use of the rainbow as their part, as to identify themselves.
A similar bashing of the court's decision was witnessed with the Gikuyu elders appealing to lawmakers to hasten the process of overturning the court's verdict.
Tukasema hiyo iende kabisa na isiwe na mtoto wetu hata mmoja. Na tukasema hao wazungu warudi na kwao na hayo mambo.
Indeed, a very controversial matter. We'll be keeping tabs on that debate. Now, West Kenya Union Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church and Equity Bank are considering a partnership that will see more learners in Adventist schools within the conference taken up in the Wings to Fly and Equity Leadership programs offered by the bank. The financial institution says it will work in tandem with faith-based schools to empower most needy learners in society, as Wycliffe Okech now reports.
West Kenya Union Conference.
Equity Bank has been running its two flagship scholarship programs, namely the Wings to Fly and Equity Leadership, which are open to both secular and faith-based learning institutions. However, the bank is now mulling a partnership with the West Kenya Union Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church to scale up the number of learners taken up under the two programs.
The population is growing every day. We cannot keep measuring or going by the measures we did 10 years ago. The population in Kenya is bigger. So by that scale, we can only scale up our partnership.
The bank will work closely with faith-based institutions to identify and assist the neediest learners in society.
Religious or faith-based are institutions that you'll find in the remotest place. And if you want integrity, especially in the area of identifying the true needy, the true double orphans who cannot make it to secondary school, then church becomes a very good partner in that area.
The purpose of education, as we understand it, is to prepare people for service on earth and in heaven. So our education is education for eternity, and it is building up characters, building up integrity, so that we raise up people who are focused on service and not just money or position.
Esther Mimba, the best student within the West Kenya Union Conference in last year's KCSE, is a beneficiary of the Equity Leadership Program.
I was in Segero Adventist National School and I scored an A- of 80 points. Yes, currently I'm posted at Equity, Kisumu branch.
The West Kenya Union Conference on Sunday held an education day for its affiliate learning institutions, where top performers in last year's national examinations were awarded.
That story brings us to a fast break of the news this morning, but I'll be back with more, including sports, in just a moment.
Let's learn and let's love. And don't forget to make it fun.
No need, I'll take it.
Come on, let me help my little sister. I've got it. Drop. You're shy?
Nothing to be shy about.
Bo, but you are now.
My best friend is pretty much part of my family. She would never do anything to betray me.
I told you before, I'll buy you the same one. But I couldn't find it. Finally, I had time.
I also brought you some breakfast, your favorite egg roll, and also a sandwich.
No need. I never eat breakfast. May I have some? Jenny bought this food. Ask her.
Sauti ya Kenya
92.9. Hii ni KBC Radio Taifa.
Kila kitu maishani kina sauti yaleta furaha.
Radio.
Sauti ya elimisha yahimiza yatuleta pamoja. Sauti ya Kenya
Radio Taifa.
Sauti ya Kenya.
Now we go to the counties where national government administrators have been challenged to spearhead alternative dispute resolution mechanisms in arbitrating petty offences. Correctional Service Principal Secretary Mary Muthoni says this will reduce the backlog of court cases and decongest prisons. This comes ahead of the start of the service week by the Employment and Labour Relations Court aimed at clearing the backlog of cases that are more than 3 years old in 5 counties. More details in our county briefs with Frederick Parsaya.
The Principal Secretary, who was in Gishugu, Kirinyaga County, said a majority of youth below the age of 35 were behind bars due to petty family disputes, petty crimes and boundary laws. Cases that could be solved by chiefs, village elders and other administrators to reduce cases in court, calling for a functional dispute resolution mechanism.
The only way is to have alternative dispute resolutions. Mambo ya mashamba tunaongea nyumbani, si kwenda kotini. Kwa sababu shamba unaulizana na ndugu yako, ndugu na dada. So you sit down as a family, sort out the issue as a family. Musipelekane kotini, alafu mnaenda kujiaibisha pale.
Separately, in Kiambu County, Governor Kimani Wamatangi has launched a cleanup exercise in the 12 sub-counties. This move is aimed at keeping the environment clean. The exercise will be a monthly exercise conducted on the first or last Saturday of the month.
Wakati utakaofika mwezi wa Machi, kwa majaliwa yake Mwenyezi Mungu, Jumamosi ya mwisho, hata nyinyi mukae tu muweke kama ni masaa mawili kutoka saa 1 asubuhi mpaka saa 4, utoke pia usaidie kusafisha mahali, alafu sisi wote turudi kwenye kazi zetu.
Now I declare this Tower Circle new branch officially open.
Wow. Still in Kiambu County, Agriculture, Livestock and Cooperatives County Chief Executive Committee member Wilfred Kiara has urged financial institutions to finance small and medium entrepreneurs.
There is importance of the government also collaborating with the circle societies, because they're the ones who are dealing with the common mwananchi, ile wa pale chini kabisa, so that any kind of financing that is required kuwezesha kufanya biashara zao.
In Laikipia County, environmental stakeholders are raising concerns over the pollution of rivers in urban centers. The environmentalists conducting a cleanup exercise of Nanyuki and Liki rivers urged the county government to evict those who had built permanent houses along the riparian land.
We are now asking the government of His Excellency the Governor of Laikipia to come up with a structure to help us to clean these 2 rivers.
In addition, a group of well-wishers from Nanyuki town have embarked on a walk to raise funds to feed school-going children from slum areas in the town. The ongoing food shortage has hampered their efforts amid calls for other well-wishers to partner with them.
Leo tulikuwa na run kuweza kujulisha watu about our presence and about the situation at our schools, and also to be able to raise funds so that we can be able to increase our numbers and cover more ground.
Meanwhile, the Council of Elders of the Bajuni community in Lamu County are demanding a public apology from the area county women representative Monica Marubu. The elders are taking issue with a statement she made last week claiming attacks in the county were not the works of the Al-Shabaab militia group but rather locals hired by ranch owners to cause unrest.
Mambo ambayo ya aibu kwa kiongozi kama yeye kusimama mbele ya rais siku ya ibada azungumze maneno ya chuki na ya kuleta tafaruku na ambayo ingeleta uhasama baina ya makabila tofauti ambao wanaishi Lamu.
Finally, Busia Governor Dr. Paulo Twoma has assured residents that he will implement the task force report on governance and system reforms to transform and improve service delivery in the county. Speaking during the launch of the report, the county boss reiterated he will rid the county of ghost workers.
Once you are given an office, you must work. You must work and you must deliver. So for those who have been given opportunities to be the county executive, we now need them also to provide the leadership. But we are also saying the board and the public service, they must also now streamline and restructure to make sure that the resources, the human resources that we are developing is helping us to solve our problem.
Over now to sports, where Kenya Police easily strolled into the last 16 of the Mozartbet Cup football tournament after beating Scarlet FC 4-1 in the round of 32 match played at the Kasarani Annex in Nairobi. In the other round of 32 fixtures played yesterday, Gor Mahia narrowly edged Kibera Soka 1-0, while Kariobangi Sharks thrashed Marula 6-0.
Kenya Police secured the last 16 place in the Mozartbet Cup after an easy win over Scarlet FC at the Kasarani Annex. The Kenya Premier League side got off to the best start, netting 2 easy goals in the first period against Scarlet, formed by former Kenyan players. Scarlet managed to find the net, but that was only a consolation as Police scored 2 more times to secure the 4-1 victory. Gor Mahia looked to be troubled by Kibera Soka in the other match, but managed to find the net once as they crawled into the last 16. Kariobangi Sharks were the biggest winners on Sunday, netting 6 times against Marula FC to also move into the last 16. Bandari and Sofapaka also managed to secure wins in their respective matches against Administration Police and Karatina Homeboys.
Now let's go to Tokyo, where Kenya's Rosemary Wanjiru held off a strong challenge from Ethiopian runners to win the 2023 Tokyo Marathon in Japan. Wanjiru ran 2 hours, 16 minutes and 28 seconds for the 7th fastest women's marathon performance in history, winning by 28 seconds ahead of Ethiopia's Sesei Gamechu. Ashete Bekere finished 3rd after clocking 2 hours, 19 minutes and 11 seconds. Rosemary Wanjiru was contesting the second marathon of her career after finishing 2nd in her debut in Berlin last year. In the men's competition, Kenya's Titus Kipruto clocked 2 hours, 5 minutes and 32 seconds to finish 4th. Ethiopia's Desso Gemisa emerged victorious in a time of 2 hours, 5 minutes and 22 seconds, beating compatriots Mohamed Essa and Tsegai Gacheo to the 2nd and 3rd positions respectively. Now to golf, where Michael Karanga of Kiambu Golf Club and Vipingo Ridge Golf Club player Naomi Wafula were crowned the champions of the 2023 edition of the Windsor Classic Golf Tournament. Amateurs and professionals used the competition to prepare for the magical Kenya Open, which tees off on the 9th at the Muthaiga Golf Club.
Ranga carded 2 over 218 for back-to-back wins in the event held at the Windsor Golf Club. Ugandan Godfrey Nsubuga, who carded 4 over 220 on the par 72 course, was second, while Bhavnish Chandaria of Muthaiga Golf Club completed the podium after registering 6 over 222. In the pro category, resident golfer Rizwan Charania emerged top with 1 under 215, followed by David Wako, who caddied 2 over 218. Kevin Mabele settled for the third position with 4 over 220. In the ladies category, Naomi Wafula of Vipingo Ridge Golf Club clinched victory with 15 over 231, ahead of Joyce Wanjiro of Kiambu Golf Club, who registered 19 over 235. Winners were awarded cash prizes at a prize-giving ceremony at Windsor Golf Hotel and Country Club.
That's where we put a cap on the morning news on Good Morning Kenya. We still have much more to cover for you during the day. Do stay tuned to catch more updates in our 1 p.m. Bulletin. But right now, we want to continue with Good Morning Kenya, where our guests are already in studio, and Victor will be taking you through the newspaper review at the same time engaging our guests on politics. On Politics this morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to start your day with us here on Good Morning Kenya. Until next time, I do wish you a great viewing and a good day.
All right, welcome back. Now let's take a look at what we have on the front page of our local dailies here. I'll start with the People Daily, but just to tell you that already we have our guest in studio. I have got Gabriel Kagombe, who is a member of Parliament of Gatundu South constituency, joining me in studio already, and Samuel Atandi, Member of Parliament, Alego Usonga constituency. We'll be getting into a discussion shortly. But right about now, how about I take you through the front page of dailies, local dailies here. Let me start with Daily Nation. The front page, where to find a job. Where to find a job. Over the past decade, more job opportunities were created in the construction, public administration, and the defense and education sectors. A nation analysis of data by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows that even as the country continues to grapple with biting unemployment and massive job losses. That is what's on the front page of the Daily Nation. Again, on the front page here, Finland Varsity threatens to kick out Kenyan students in fees row. And Matiang'i back in the country, set to face and to present himself to DCI. Matiang'i back in the country, set to present himself to DCI. And then here, there is an interesting story that audit unveils 34 billion shillings fuel subsidy scandal. Audit unveils 34 billion shillings fuel subsidy scandal, and that is just 15 months before the election of August 9th, 2022. That is where now the issue started. 15 months, 34 billion shillings fuel subsidy scandal. That is on the front page of the Daily Nation. The front page of the People Daily. How 3 regions share half of teachers' jobs. How 3 regions share half of teachers' jobs. A cohesion team audit reveals shocking disparities on tutors hiring in report, even as employer defense self saying that individuals from some regions were not interested in the posts. You can take a look there at the statistics fleshed out there for you on the front page of the People Daily. Again, on the front page, Matiang'i returns home to face his accusers. Matiang'i returns home to face his accusers. That is on the front page of the People Daily. And on the Star newspaper, Ruto Maja plan. Why Musalia and Weta are jittery. Why Musalia and Weta are jittery. ANC and rebuffs UDA overshares, says that party won't merge now or anytime in future. That is on the front page of the Star newspaper again. And Gachagua takes 24 billion shillings scandal to Uhuru's doorstep. Gachagua takes 24 billion shillings scandal to Uhuru's doorstep. He was speaking yesterday at a church service, and now he says that Soon he'll name the people behind the scandal. Let me take this with you, Gabriel Kagombe. Good morning, first of all. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Victor.
Based on what we have on the front page of the Star newspaper, Gachagua takes 24 billion shilling scandal to Uhuru's doorstep. Is this a time to pop the bubble, or is just a legitimate kind of revelation?
You know, Victor, we must get to a point where we respect public resources. And what this government envisages is a situation where you will see public resources and you will walk away from it. We have this culture that nothing happens to anybody. You know, when you go to court and the court says that you're convicted, and for you to be a deterrent, yes, that conviction is a deterrent for you and other people who may not be present before court but are being warned. It's the same thing. We must at least get some people to face the law so that people get to respect public resources. And I think there can be a better time than now, because you know, we have a country to run, and we must get people to, you know, to move away from this culture of stealing from the public coffers. So I think it is good for us to know. We are entitled to know exactly what is happening. We're entitled to know who took our money. And you know, we have been told that even on the eve of the swearing in, yes, people who are just walking around, going to the public office, going to central bank to carry money in trucks. So this is grievous, and we must know exactly who these people are. So, yes, I mean, I don't think there's a better time than now.
All right. Mheshimiwa Samuel, at the end of the day, we never saw this happen during the past regime. Is it a point now, or it's now my time to hit back?
Thank you very much, Victor. First of all, let me begin by saying that this is my first time to appear before this show, appear in this show.
Welcome.
And also to be here on KBC TV. And I must say that I'm pleased and happy that there's a lot of progress that is going on in this station. And I want to urge the people in charge that I want to congratulate them and tell Kenyans to watch KBC more.
Thank you.
Also, the staff I can see around well prepared to do the job. And for many years, Kenyans thought that Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is not the leading TV station. I think I want to confirm today that this is a leading TV station, and I will be coming more and more if you give me the opportunity.
Anytime.
Secondly, back to the topic of discussion that you've just introduced. Victor, I've been in Parliament for the last 5 years. This is my second term. And in my first term, I sat in the Budget Committee. And this time around also, I sit in the Budget Committee. And what I want to say is that I want to urge Kenyans to ignore the Deputy President, Mr. Gachagua, because he doesn't have facts and is playing politics with everything that comes on his way. On this matter of the payments that he's referring to, the payments were legally paid, because for any money to leave Treasury, there's a procedure that is followed for any money to leave. As to whether the money is left, as to what time the money left, even on the day of elections, there was a government in place that was still serving Kenyans. The government was not going to stop serving Kenyans because the election was happening. I want to tell you that the amount of money that he's talking about that they were paid, impending days to elections. We have gone through these items recently through the supplementary budget, and we have actually cleared 99% of those payments, that they were paid legally, the procedures were followed. Some of those payments were paid for services that were rendered to Kenyans. I have heard them saying that on the question of maize subsidy, that no Kenyans subsidize unga. That is completely false. I have evidence that my constituents ate subsidized unga. On the question that the monies that were paid for subsidizing fuel, you know very well that before this government came into office and before elections, fuel was subsidized. fuel was subsidized. And Kenyans were able to afford to get affordable fuel. It is only when they took over and removed all these subsidies that Kenyans began, the cost of living began to rise. So we want to urge Kenyans to ignore one Mr. Rigathi Gachagua, who is clueless, agendaless, tribal, useless, somebody who should not even hold a public office as Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Gakombe, just down there, on the front page of The Nation, what does it say about the fuel subsidy?
Audit unveils 34 billion fuel subsidy scandal. You know, I want to tell you, Samuel Latandi here is a member of parliament for Alego Usonga. And therefore, he must stand by his people. And I don't mean the people of Alego Usonga. I mean the people who have brought him, who gave him the ticket to run. And you know how that happens. I don't want to get into those details. So I know he must protect the position of the previous government because they were the people who sat where those things were happening. Now, he sits in the budget committee. I sit in the public accounts committee.
Those are two big committees.
When I tell Kenyans that money was stolen, please believe me, I sit in the public accounts committee and public officials have come. They cannot account for over 400 billion shillings in the last subsidy scandal. Is just a drop in the ocean. In the last 1 week, today we are going to be meeting the State Department for Livestock. And already, because I've been going through the papers, already we cannot tell where 6 billion is. All these monies, Atandi will sit here and lie to Kenyans because, when politics is done like this, it's very wrong for us to lie to our people who elected us, and we have a responsibility to make sure that public resources are protected. Now, when you tell Kenyans that there's no money, that everything was paid to, so what about this audit query? What are you saying about it? Right. The Auditor General's office is actually at pain because they cannot tell where this country was actually headed. We're saying in the last quarter of, in the first quarter of this fiscal year, we could not account, the government, the Auditor General's office could not account for so much money. So they're asking the people to come and explain, and as we sit in the public accounts like we shall be sitting in this afternoon, and now, we look at the expenditure of government in the past year.
Yes.
We are finding a lot of unaccounted expenditure, a lot of moved expenditure where this money was allocated for this and then it went to pay something else. And we're finding now situations where people cannot exactly say where that money was spent. And we're finding now even expenditure that was outside the law. When you look at it, you can clearly say that this expenditure went towards politics. If you listen to the Member of Parliament for Lagos Soka here, he says that he saw maize subsidy. I can tell you I did not. So it looks like when the areas during campaigns, if your area was deemed to be supporting this side of the government or this side of the election, then the subsidy was taken there.
Yes.
I can tell you that I come from Gatundu South. Nobody saw. We're just here, and the millers, most of the millers are in Nairobi and around here. We did not see one bag, 1 kilo of that subsidized maize, not once. So I do not doubt what my colleague here is saying, but all that goes to say is that probably this money was taken to be used politically, and that is a trend we are seeing, and that is what we were saying. We must get to a point where we respect public resources. And whether I support you, I don't support you, I am a Kenyan and I'm entitled to support and services from this government because I pay taxes. Whether I support this side of government or the opposition, wherever I sit, I am entitled to services from the government. It cannot be that because we are deemed to be UDA, then we shall not get access to government subsidy. But if you deem to be from a county or from a constituency that is seen to be supporting Jubilee and ODM, then you get subsidy.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Tanda, who authorized these payments of the pending bills, as you said?
Victor, before I get there, let me educate my brother here. First of all, the audit reports they are going through are audit reports for the financial years 2020-2021. we have not reached at the stage where we are going through the audit reports of expenditures that occurred in the last financial year, which is 2022-2023.
Yes.
In fact, we have just passed supplementary budget to review what was budgeted in 2022-2023. So we have not gotten to the stage where we are going to looking at those expenditures. And in any case, audit reports does not mean that money is stolen. Audit reports basically checks at how the expenditures occurred, and the Auditor General normally raises queries on how the monies were applied. In most cases, when they sit as Public Accounts Committee and they invite the particular officers that were involved in those expenditures, most of them they come and clarify.
Yeah.
And you'll find that the audit, in the end, the audit report that they bring before Parliament basically clears the officers, because the Auditor General officers, and this is something we have told them, they are not meticulous, the audit officers. And we have raised this issue with them when they appear before us. So we normally would not like to discuss the audit reports by the Auditor General, because until they are approved by the Public Accounts Committee where it sits, in which case they will call the officers to give explanation. Secondly, I have said that there is no money that can be released from government coffers without following procedure. We have laws in the Constitution that permit some of these payments, like the payments that we are discussing here, are payments that happened under Article 223. Article 223 of the Constitution allows government to spend money which is not in the budget, but as long as within 2 months they have to present those expenditures to Parliament. That happens a lot, like when we had COVID. When COVID appeared, there was no money that was budgeted for COVID, but the government had to look for resources and spend irregularly out of the budget.
Yeah.
And then the resources, the budget, the Parliament would be informed, and we would then regularize. Like in this case, some of the expenditures that these people are talking about were expenditures that were spent under Article 223. And most of them, as I've told you, we have actually validated all those payments. The only payment which we have not validated is payment in reference to Helios.
Okay.
The monies that were used to purchase shares in Telcom. Yes, and we have not that we have not validated because of 1, 2, 3 reasons. We have just not validated because we have said we need more information.
Okay.
Which by the time we were going through the budget, the information was not with us.
Let me cut you short, and we are going to take a break, and we come back, we are going to delve deeper into that. But before that, let me give you what's on the front page of the Standard. Matiang'i flies back to DCI EACC's Tom. Matiang'i flies back to DCI EACC's Tom. Former Interior Cabinet Secretary jetted back into the country and is expected to warn a summons to explain to investigators a source of his wealth and why he raised an alarm over a raid that never was. That was on the front page of the Standard here. And of course, the drought situation in the country is also on pictures here. You can take a look. We have got several rivers now running dry. Government to name officials who stole billion shillings. That is again on the front page, as was said by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. And finally, executives in town for peer forum. That is on there. Safaricom board silent as CEO's term nears end. That is on business. All right. Right about now, let's take a break, and when we come back, we are going to get more on the details as what is happening and what the Deputy President said. And now, there is now a case where political parties in the UDA Kenya Kwanza are being told to fold and form one alliance. How is it going to pan out? So far, we have got Ford Kenya ANC saying that they are not going to fold shop and join Kenya Kwanza. More after this break. Stay with us.
Ndio nataka nikuachie hapa nikichome.
Kutoka mafuta ipate bei, atuchomangi chai. Hiyo mambo rolo wa chanka. Siwezi kubali.
Siku ile. Chai iko na chumvi kwa nini?
Sasa mimi mtu ataniletea uchuachi.
Ushanizoea na mimi sitaki unizoe. Chukua hizi vitu zako zote utumbukize. Sitaki.
Najua uko na masikio na uko na macho hata kama umefunga unaniona. Nimekupika 7 hours.
After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for elected leaders to deliver on their pledges.
To have clean, accessible drinking water across the county.
The hustle of everyday Kenyans is encouraged and rewarded.
Operationalizing Kerugoya Level 5 Hospital.
A functioning school feeding program.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
The percentage of AIDS in 2021 were more than those ones in 2022.
We will not politicize security, because if we do so, we endanger the country.
Every week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
One of the best ways of accelerating national development is through collaboration with county governments.
The Scorecard, coming soon on KBC Channel 1.
Believe that there's a problem. Well, what's the problem? We counted the boxes several times, and it doesn't match with what's on the inventory. Are you aware we have this problem?
Ruben, why did you come into my room without my permission?
The truth is, I've made a decision. And what is your decision? I hired another veterinarian.
What do you mean, he decided? Oligario Montoya is my father, Pancho. What do you mean he decided to do it?
Hey! Listen up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Engine.
How do we hear? How do we see? What makes up the air we breathe?
Let's go! Let's go!
It's technology.
Let's go! Let's grow!
Science, you and me.
Let's go! Let's go!
We're learning every day.
Let's go! Let's grow!
Let's ask, let's learn, and let's love.
And don't forget to make it fun!
Pesa ya Kenya yote saa ile waliona uchaguzi umeharibika, walibeba na magunia. Hata hii petition huyu mzee ya maandamano hakuwa anataka, alisukumwa aweke petition to allow them room wakati ya Supreme Court inasikiza kesi waibe mali ya Kenya. Between the time IBC announced William Ruto as president and the day he was sworn in, they looted more than 24 billion shillings in this country.
The Deputy President backed claims made by the Budget and Appropriations Committee.
Mheshimiwa Kagombe?
I like the lessons that my brother here is trying to teach me. But I want to tell him that I am a politician, and when I sit in the Public Accounts Committee, I am not just confined to what happened in the previous fiscal year. I have responsibility as a politician to know exactly even what the government is engaged in today. So when I say that we know what has been happening in the first quarter of this fiscal year, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Number two, these are the same people who've been saying fungua sava, we want to know the truth. In that spirit of openness and transparency, why are you afraid of the deputy president naming? We just wait for him to name. We know who it is. Then you will come and tell us, no, you know that person did not do ABCD. We just want the deputy president to name those people. And I just don't want to take the bubble away from him. I would have just named them here.
Yes.
Because we know them. The list is available. We know who these people are. And finally, we are not saying that money was not appropriated. Those things, the fiscal things, you heard very well what the deputy president has said. We are not saying that this money was planned or was not budgeted for. We are saying money was stolen. You're not saying it went through this State Department. No, we're saying people went na magunia.
Yeah.
You know what that means? You know, maybe he doesn't understand what magunia means. It means that people went to public coffers, to the consolidated central bank, literally, and just took away money. And I know he's going to tell me, oh, you know, that's not how the law works. We know. And that is why we are angry, because that is not how it should happen. Money should be expended in a particular way through the financial systems that are established and the financial infrastructure that is established in this country. Because this is not a banana republic. This is not a place where people go and take money and put in helicopters.
Somebody would ask about the timing of that revelation, because to the best of my knowledge, the Azimio leader Raila Odinga is almost also naming or giving his revelation in the next few days, next course of action. Should someone say that it's like a counter?
Raila Odinga has nothing to disclose to Kenyans. We know what... The only thing he can disclose to Kenyans is that he's now accepting that he lost his seat. There's nothing Raila can come and disclose to Kenyans. What? He's the one who was in that government. All these atrocities that were perpetrated against Kenyans were done under his watch, in a government that he sat in a government where they sat with the principle and said, this is how we're going to rule this country. So he has got nothing to disclose to people. He should have done that a long time ago. Now, this Machozi Wednesday that is loading and it's coming in 2 days, there's nothing to stop a government from operating, and we cannot even start preparing to respond to that. I mean, how do you start responding to people who want to come and sleep by the roadside, or people who just want to come and picket and walk around Jivanji? You saw that I think that we were told Jivanji is going to be the mother of all protests. Mass action. And you know, we must address it, because that is probably what you're alluding to. We allow the people who feel that they want to picket to go picket, the people who want to have mass action to have mass action, but we must know that your right to demonstrate ends where my right to do business starts. So as long as you do your demonstrations and you do not disrupt economic activities of people who have invested in this country and who have woken up early morning to go and fend for their families, we are okay with you. But the moment you touch the rights of other people, just know that we shall face you. Okay. We shall face you.
Mheshimiwa Tande, 24 billion shillings, that is what's on Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says, and soon he'll name people who are responsible. But before you answer, on the People Daily here, Gachagua pledges to end monopoly in milk and gas sector. He said that he charged that life has become unbearable, and there are particular people who are now taking direct monopoly on the two sectors. You can connect the two.
Thank you, Victor. Victor, I don't want to discuss Honorable Gachagua, the Deputy President, because what he's simply doing is engaged in diversionary tactics. You know, these are people who have been elected and given the mandate, and they have taken the instruments of power, but they don't know what to do with the instruments of power. So instead of sitting down and focusing on how they can better the lives of Kenyans, they are involved in politics. They are still campaigning. Because if you look at what I heard last week, where the president is still giving further promises, as if the promises they gave during campaigns is not enough. Each and every time they engage in, they continue to give us more promises. We are going to lower the cost of gas. We are going to, to reduce the cost of, the price of unga will come down. When you have taken instruments of power, I want to give you an example, Victor. When Kibaki became the president of this country, and you remember the country was at its lowest in all factors. Yes. He did not make any promise. He went and sat down and began to function. He said, we are going to give you free primary education. He had not collected even 1 shilling as tax, but immediately was sown in that free primary education. We started seeing it. So these are people, I would say they are confused, you know, to make it simple. But they don't know what they want to do. They are still promising. In fact, they were not ready to be. I now believe that these people are not elected. Because if you are elected and you know you are going to win election, you know what you are going to do after winning election. I now tend to think that the report that you are given by Baba, the whistleblower report, is very accurate. Because today, I was elected as the MP for Lagos Songa. I started working immediately. I knew this is the first thing I need to do, the second thing I need to do. These ones don't know anything. So what they are doing is they're engaged in diversionary tactics of making promises. In fact, it is not in the space of the deputy president to claim that he wants to announce people who stole money from public coffers. There are many other government agencies that should do that, including Parliament. It's not in his space. It is in his space to look for ways of bettering the lives of Kenyans, which he has failed. Secondly, I want to tell my brother here that since he was elected and proposed to sit in the Public Accounts Committee, I have evidence that that committee has not started to look at any report. So whatever statements he's talking about here, that is they are going through those reports, that's irrelevant. Is actually just making stories here. And lastly, the question of milk, is milk and what, and gas.
And gas.
You know very well that 80% of Kenyans does not need such statements. Because how many Kenyans want milk? There are other things that Kenyans want. They don't need milk. In fact, even gas. Gas is a luxury. Yeah. There are many problems that...
A majority of Kenyans use gas for their house.
Majority of Kenyans use firewood, not gas.
Urban centers, yes. We do.
But you see, what is the population of Kenyans in urban centers? Is that the first thing that a serious government can address? So, as I'm telling you, and even if they wanted to, I saw them blaming, saying, if Raila Odinga is serious, let him lower the prices of gas. Did you hear something like that?
Yes.
I have heard that statement also. But I'm asking myself, in the gas business, there's no monopoly. There are 20 players, more than 20 players. So, how does Raila Odinga single-handedly lower the prices of gas? Is it because he's a politician? That is one. Secondly, what does the government, if you want prices to come down, there's something that the government must do. The government must provide the conducive environment for the prices to come down. Even for milk. If you're in the milk business, right now there's drought. You know everything, and the cost of feeds is gone up.
Yeah.
How would somebody tell you to reduce the price of milk? So we are dealing with people who are in charge of, who have taken over instruments of power illegitimately, and in addition to that, they have even failed to do simple basic things of making Kenyans' life better. We want to urge these people that for the short time that they are going to hold these instruments of power before we remove them, which you are going to do, let them do something, let them leave us a little legacy. Let them leave a little legacy before they exit that stage, because I don't think that Kenyans will continue to go like this. Kenyans want a leadership that is going to sit down and sort out their problems, not people who are going to churches to make funny statements that do not hold weight.
Okay. Mheshimiwa, do you have a report from your committee? A formal report?
First of all, you must realize that the way Public Accounts Committee works is that we meet 3 days in a week. Today we're going to meet at 2:30. On Thursday we met in the morning at 10:30, and we keep meeting every so often. First of all, that is a committee that has been very busy. You know, one of the most active members of parliament is our chairman, who comes from the opposition, who is Honorable John Badi. And I am not going to respond to what Atandi is trying to talk about. That is why he's in budget and I'm in Public Accounts Committee. But before I talk about that, you know, always when I come to TV, I'm always afraid of displaying my ignorance. And when you say that Kenyans do not need gas, then it really tells a lot. I mean, that is a huge statement that speaks volumes. You know that one of the reasons why you're finding that our rivers are drying up is because our forests and our forest cover is depleted. And we are moving towards, and this is even part of the Millennium Development Goals that had been set a long time ago, and anybody who has gone to school will tell you that we are supposed to be looking at how to protect the environment, and one of the best ways is to stop people from using firewood and moving to a more sustainable source of energy. That is number one. Number two, when you say that that people don't need milk, you need to know that milk is an industry. There are people who rear cattle and they get milk from it so that they sell, and there are people who rely on proceeds from milk. Yeah. So that is a huge industry that you cannot sit on national TV and play down. You cannot downplay an industry like milk. It supports huge families. Like I've told you today, we are meeting the State Department for Livestock, and we shall be talking about these people whose cattle died during drought. You know, when they hear such a statement, there are people whose hearts weep. But now, on the report of public accounts, before we do a report and table it in Parliament, we have to synthesize it ourselves so that what we bring at the end is what is completely final, and the recommendations on actions to be taken against either individuals, against state departments, or even ministries. Right. Depending on how we think that they spend their money. For that doesn't happen just like the Auditor General doesn't come and give a report in piecemeal. We have to wait until we have evaluated everything, and then we give one report. So the report is coming, and we are yet to finish. We still, we started our work when we opened, when we started in this new session. So we still have some work to do. We still have some ground to cover. But what I'm telling you is already what we have seen in the preliminaries, in the beginning, with the first about 5 state departments that we have dealt with.
But Mheshimiwa Tandi, don't you think now, when you have Raila Odinga, he's almost coming out with his, his whatever he said that he's going to name at the end of the rallies, that ends on Wednesday. And then now we have this revelation of 24 billion shillings, which again he claims that was stolen during that period of election. Don't you see a situation where we are going to have a lot of antagonism between the two sides?
First of all, let me just make a clarification. You've heard him saying that they have no report which they have accomplished.
Yes.
And now we are done with that segment. That there's no there's no public accounts committee report that has verified the claims that 24 billion shillings was stolen. So I think we are out of that conversation, and it is very clear. The statements by the deputy president are just a hearsay, and as I say, diversionary tactics. Secondly, we are what we are doing as Azimio. We are being pushed by Kenyans. Kenyans are telling us, we voted for you, and you cannot abandon us to these hyenas that are eating us. So what we are doing is that we are being driven by Kenyans, and we are going to answer to the Kenyans' calls. Kenyans who cannot afford meals, Kenyans who cannot take their children to school because of this CBC thing. Because of these fees that have been raised. Right now, the university fees have also been raised. So we are not going to abandon Kenyans, and we are going to rally Kenyans to ensure that this country is a country that is comfortable to live in. We are not going to sit down. So if they are worried about our meetings that we are going to start, let them just ship out, because we are going to engage in extensive consultations with Kenyans about the state of the economy, about the kind of leadership that is here, and what kind of leadership does Kenyans want. So these things we are going to do them, and I heard some of them threatening that they are not going to do. My friend, the policemen and the army in this country is less than 5% of Kenyans. So whether you are going to bring all the police and all the army officers to Nairobi or everywhere else where Kenyans are going to protest, you won't succeed. Nobody has succeeded. The Arab Springs tried to use the police. They didn't succeed. All you need to do is to answer to some of the prayers we're asking you. Lower the cost of living, make life affordable in Kenya, then you are going to be safe. But as long as you are not
what if that happens? So what will be the next step for the opposition?
We have put our demands on the table.
And so if they heed to the calls, the rallies will stop and the demonstrations will stop.
Yes, if they answer our prayers, then we are fine. Yeah, we are fine. If they answer our prayers, if tomorrow, if today we see that the price of unga is coming down, and they provide subsidies for fuel, because fuel is the driver, is the engine for high cost of living. If the price of fuel can come down through subsidies, we will be fine.
So that is the end game.
Yes. So we want, because we are not acting on our own behalf. We are acting on behalf of Kenyans. So as long as, because if Kenyans begin to feel comfortable, then they will tell us, okay, you guys, let's not go that direction.
Okay.
Because they will not come to our meetings. If the Kenyans are happy, they will not, even if you call a meeting, they will not come.
Okay.
But because they are not happy, they will still continue to come.
Gombe, you hear what he said, that once, if, because in each and every meeting they go, Azimio go, they have declarations. So if at all any of those calls is heeded to, then the demonstrations will stop.
First of all, I want to come out clear here and say, Atandi has told me and confided in me previously that his heart is actually not in these rallies and everything. He knows that.
And that is why somebody has actually sent me a message here. I was reading that why is it not been seen in any of these
He's not been seen in any of them, and he's confided in me. He's told me, Bwana, these things, I don't believe in them. I don't like what Baba is doing. But if I don't support them on TV, now my people are not going to vote for me again. That's number one. So
somebody has told you that I'm not seen in rallies.
Wait a minute. I'm on the floor.
No. I think that must be challenged.
Victor,
because I have attended all.
Your time will come. You will respond.
I'm part of the planning of the Azimio rally. So what are you talking about?
You will respond. Your time will come. You'll respond. Just be civil a bit and wait for your turn to come. You'll be given the mic. Now, Victor, it's oxymoronical for someone who says that there is no government in power, that there is no government that was elected the people, to ask the same entity, because now it's not a government according to them, so to ask it to lower the cost of living for the, first of all, let's set some things clear. Do we have a government in power? If we do, then make demands of it, knowing that it is a government. You cannot say that you don't recognize the government that is elected by the people of Kenya. And this is a democracy. We say the majority will have their way and the minority will have their say. They had their say at the ballot, we had our way. And that is how democracies operate now. Once you're done with that and you've established that now there's a sitting government, now respect the government. And that is why we want these people to come and help us form something called a formal official opposition in parliament within the constitution, so that they behave. Because what they're enjoying now is what we call the prerogative of the harlot. It is power without responsibility. Your work is to wake up in the morning, you say, okay, today we are going to, you say Jacaranda. Okay, fine, let's go to Jacaranda. What he's saying is planning. There's no planning. It's just calling each other and asking, okay, where do we go today? Because you do not want to participate in economic activities. And this is what we're saying. Kenyans must know that we must work. We must have a culture of working. This thing of maandamano every time is not going to bring food to anybody's doorstep. So people must engage in economic activities. And my brother, you must tell your people, instead of taking people to maandamano by the roadside, tell them to go and engage in economic activities. That is why you do not find that milk is an industry that should be protected. You should be telling your people to go and have livestock and harvest milk, and then they will create an industry. We should even be exporting milk to other countries that do not have capacity to grow, to produce milk. That is why you do not understand that gas is an industry, because and there's a monopoly in it. When you're in that industry, you'll understand that there are people who had monopolized that industry. So when you tell your people to engage in economic activities other than coming to Jivanji and sitting and saying that the government should do ABCD, please educate you. You have that responsibility. You are an elected leader of parliament. Just come to parliament, put legislation that is going to help economic activities of your people. If it is fishing, Let them have an industry where we have proper processing of fish so that that fish gets to the market, even not just in our Kenyan market, not just in Kisumu and the areas that surround it. This should be an industry. We have fish that comes to this country from Japan. We have fish that comes to this industry from China. Why are we not exporting that is freshwater lake fish to other places, and we are always getting other products from even saltwater fish from other countries? I mean, but once you tell your people that we shall not engage in any economic activities, and instead our problems come from the government that is in power. And you know, look at this. In 2007, the problem was the government that was in power at that time. It was Kibaki. You know what happened in this country. In 2012 and 2014, and around that time, the problem was Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, in 2023, rather, the problem is Ruto. So you must tell that there's something. And we must teach our people the truth. We must tell them the truth that we must engage in economic activities. Even when we pay, even when we ask for and when we demand for services in this government, services do not mean handouts. And we must get away from this culture of handouts.
Okay, Victor. Yes.
Victor, when ignorant people debate on TV, it's very sad. He's talking about our people not engaging in economic activity. But
I'm talking about you not understanding economic activities.
Right now, as an example, in Gatundu South, where it comes from, we are actually distributing relief food. In my place, Siaya, there's nobody who wants relief food because our people work hard and they can fend for themselves. They have food. They don't go around asking for it. These people are being fed with relief food every day. I'm asking myself, why would a government take
is that situation?
Why should the government take Gatundu South, Gatundu North?
You know, it is very
relief food every day that Gachagua is distributing in those areas.
It is very easy for
in Nyanza, we even rejected. The Minister for Information started to distribute relief food in Nyanza. We told him, no, we don't need relief food. Bring us something substantial. So I want to clarify.
It is wrong to lie.
I want to clarify here. That's the truth.
That is wrong.
And if you go,
maybe you can confirm
the member of parliament for Gatundu information,
but member of parliament for Gatundu South, you cannot speak for my people of Gatundu South.
But
you speak for the people of Soga.
I'm saying that you have received relief food in Gatundu South.
Where? What evidence do you have,
Victor? Please, you go and look for
I'm just saying.
Go to your Hansard and get some information.
I'm just saying.
Relief food was distributed in your constituency by this government.
All right.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that our people are working very hard.
And by the way, let me just put this clear. There's nothing wrong with distributing relief food for a government that cares for its people.
People are economically serious.
For a government that cares for its people. Because you know, if you look at this paper, you see that the situation of the rivers, and this is not something that has just been brought by this government. The government did not bring dry rivers. This is something that we have a responsibility to deal with as a society. And you know that in our country, and we must be honest with each other, you know that in our country we rely on rain-fed agriculture, and that is what the government, and that in the last 10 years, what the government should have been doing in the last 10 years, the government that killed Galana Kulalu, so that we have our own, so that we
you have 20 seconds to make a point before you take a break.
Is this government
Kagomba, you are out of order. You are out of order.
So what I was saying is that we are leaders in this country.
Yes.
And Baba and the Azimio coalition, we got more support across the country than the minority government. And they have usurped the instruments of state. They are collecting taxes on behalf of Kenyans. We do not collect tax on behalf of Kenyans. That is the reason why we are asking them, because they are the ones in charge, illegally or illegitimately. They must make life better for Kenyans. Are you getting that point?
Sure.
Are you getting? You are the one in charge. So you have to make life better for Kenyans now. Otherwise, you have no reason to be in charge of anything.
All right, gentlemen, let's take a break. And we come back. I still want us to discuss more on this issue of party folding. We saw this happen during the last regime when some parties were told to fold and thereafter what happened in the last general election. So before then, just to give you a quick run-up, that on Friday, the opposition troops will storm Raila's Nyanza backyard with a mega rally in Migori County. Mheshimiwa, again the following day they will camp in Narok County. On Sunday, the team will stage a major rally in Mombasa, one of the opposition leaders' traditional political strongholds, and finally they will troop to the neighboring county of Kilifi on Monday. So that is as far as the Raila's itinerary is concerned, as far as, again, their rallies is concerned. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we still have much more to talk about after this. Stay with us.
Let's learn and let's love. And don't forget to make it fun.
No need, I'll take it.
Come on, let me help my little sister. I've got it. Drop. You're shy?
Nothing to be shy about.
But you are now.
My best friend is pretty much part of my family. She would never do anything to betray me.
I told you before, I'll buy you the same one. But I couldn't find it. Finally, I had time.
I also brought you some breakfast, your favorite egg roll, and also a sandwich.
No need. I never eat breakfast. May I have some? Jenny bought this food. Ask her.
After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for elected leaders to deliver on their pledges.
To have clean, accessible drinking water across the county.
The hustle of everyday Kenyans is encouraged and rewarded.
Operationalizing Kerogoya Level 5 Hospital.
A functioning school feeding program.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
The percentage of AIDS in 2021 were more than those ones in 2022.
We will not politicize security, because if we do so, we endanger the country.
Every week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
One of the best ways of accelerating national development is through collaboration with county governments.
The Scorecard, coming soon on KBC Channel 1.
Right, welcome back, and I'm glad that you are still with us. All right, so over the past few days, starting last week, the UDA got a new Secretary General, that is Cleophas Malala, and now the drive is now to bring all the parties together. That is all the parties affiliated to the Kenya Kwanza to fold and form one bloc. And so far, there is an uproar and some rejection from ANC and Ford Kenya, who are saying that they are opposed to that. Now, let's take a look at what Honorable Cleophas Malala said yesterday, preceding to that kind of action. Let's take a look.
Itakuwa ya amani, so that Kenyans can speak. Ama sivyo, you be bottomed up, unakaliwa juu chini, huwezi kupumua, haiwezekani.
Na sisi hatupigi kifua. Kama hawaamini hiyo, wafungue sava. Ukweli.
All right. Okay. That's not the correct one. We'll get to the correct clip. But gentlemen, we've seen this happen in the last regime. Several parties were told to fold, they folded, and now it's like the history is now repeating itself. Mheshimiwa Kagomba, you belong to the UDA. What's the plan?
The sentiments of Honorable Malala have been taken out of context and misconstrued. And I know the opposition is now up in arms, and they now want to sack that, to milk that statement dry. You know, there are several members of the Kenya Kwanza coalition who are now in the cabinet. One among them is Moses Kuria, who happens to be my constituent. And you remember when he was elected to cabinet, he wound up his party, which was called the Chama cha Kazi. So what Malala was saying is that that was a good sign of a good government that is working together.
Yeah.
For other people who are within the government to wind up their parties. And that statement is not an official position of the Kenya Kwanza coalition. Because if that were to be the official position, it should have been communicated that day when he was elected. All right? When was elected to that office, when we elected him to that office, then that is when the communique would have been made. So this is a statement that he said, and you know it was by the roadside, it was just coming from the church, and he mentioned that. But there's nothing wrong with the people working together. Why do we form coalitions? We form coalitions because we realize that we need to work together.
Yeah.
Why did Azimio go and get Jubilee and ODM and other people and say, okay, now we are... You remember we even had a problem saying whether we didn't know whether Raila Odinga was vying as an ODM candidate or an Azimio candidate. Because parties that come and see the power of synergy and the importance of synergy to work together because you have the same direction. There's nothing wrong with Kenya Kwanza saying now we want to work together and let's follow this direction. But this is a conversation to be had. If we have the conversation and say, okay, let's retain our own individual parties because we have this reason and we have this other reason, and we have very consultative government. If you look at how things have been done, a lot of times there have been meetings, there have been PG meetings, we've held PG meetings and said, okay, which direction do you want us to go?
Yeah.
And we have always done that. So the sentiments of Cleophas Malala should not be blown out of context, and we let people not create a hill out of a mountain, out of a molehill. It's just a small thing.
Okay, let's take a listen on that story on what is coming up before we continue the discussion.
The political class went on a series of meetings across the country on Sunday to seek for support from Kenyans on various issues, while commending Investments, Trade and Industry Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria for heeding to his calls of dissolving Chama cha Kazi to fully support the United Democratic Alliance. The newly installed UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala urged other Cabinet Secretary to follow suit.
He is the first Cabinet Secretary to fold up his party and support His Excellency President William Ruto. And therefore, I'll be requesting his fellow Cabinet Secretaries this week, kindly fold your parties and join the ruling party.
Maandamano ambayo yatakuwepo.
Fold your parties and form the ruling parties. But Mheshimiwa Tande, we've seen this happen in the past. And most of the parties do fold, yes. But when they head towards an election, there is always a split. Is this going to run towards the final end?
Victor, this is unfortunately one of the areas I want to agree with Malala. We have never agreed in the past, but on this one I want to agree with him. Kenya does not need these village-based ethnic tribal political parties. We have parties like Ford Kenya, a village-based political party. We have parties like ANC, village-based political parties. We have parties that constitute Kenya Kwanza. You don't need these parties.
The two parties you've mentioned have members of parliament, even governors.
Less than 10,
Timami is governor.
Less than 10 members of parliament. You know,
but that does not bring it to that level.
Those are parliamentary. Those are actually, you know,
for you to be a parliamentary. Listen, let me teach you. For you to be a parliamentary political party, you must have in our parliament, you must have more than 20 members of parliament.
Not 20.
Any party that has less than 20 members of parliament is not parliamentary.
5.
And you find that these are even the members of parliament that are there. Yes. They are from one county. If you look, they're just one county. So Kenya needs 2 or 3 strong political parties, so that we can kill this ethnic politics. This ethnic politics is not good for us. We need two strong political parties, so that we can do politics of ideology, so that we will be saying the ODM party pursues this politics. Like in the US, the Republicans and the Democrats, they alternate.
Yes.
And we know what they stand for. Like now, these Republicans that are running, the Democrats that are in the US, they are the ones that are promoting these gay things. That is what they believe in. And that's why even when they come here, they talk to the president. They tell the president, please, can you allow these gays to thrive so that we give you money? That's what's happening. Yeah, even the Supreme Court ruling, they called and they said, we need you to, don't fight these gays. They are our people. They are our supporters in the US. So when the members of the Democratic Party in the US see that their members in Kenya are being harassed through some of these legislations, they tell their president, please go to Kenya and help, so that we can send money. So that's what's happening. What's happening here is these gays. I heard the president trying to condemn it, but it was too late in the day.
Which we'll come to.
It was too late. So
we'll come to that.
We want to have 2 or 3 strong political parties that are not based on ethnicity, because our problem as a country is ethnicity. Right now, you are in one of the headlines there. You're talking about how 3 tribes are dominating teachers, TSC numbers. Have you seen that?
Right.
Let's kill those things. Let's have 2 strong parties, so that it will even be possible for a person from a small minority group to become the president of Kenya. Right now, the president.
But is that one of the dangers of an open democracy in Kenya? Because we have almost over 80 political parties registered by the registered political parties.
That's why we are saying that the campaign that Malala started is very good. I want to join him. Let us follow these ethnic-based political parties, so that we can have 2 strong political parties, so that we can have a minority, somebody from a minority tribe getting to become the president of Kenya. Right now, it's impossible. It's impossible.
Two big gentlemen, Musalia Mudavadi and Wetangula, who are all jittery about folding their political parties and forming UDA. What does that show to the ruling coalition?
Before I comment on that,
is it even too soon for the two gentlemen to rebuff?
If anybody who's been in this country, and I would like to educate my brother here, because maybe owing to his, I don't know, but maybe he wasn't here in 1992, and before then, he would know the dangers of having or heading towards one party. He should know the dangers that we have had in the last 10 years because of opposition joining the government. Because then we start an oppressive kind of regime. So we must popularize democracy, and we must allow people to form parties. It is granted in the law. If I want to form a political party, then I should go ahead and form a political party. That's number 1. Number 2, if you listened, and it is important that you know that these people, when we speak here, don't put words in people's mouths. Malala said he's requesting. It is his view. It is his opinion that people should probably come together and
supporting his opinion.
And it is okay.
Yes.
You're entitled to it, to support it. But you're saying there's nothing wrong, and it is not the legal and the position of Kenya Kwanza Coalition that we kill our parties. No. We belong to UDA, and if smaller parties, and I said, if we find that it is going to be easier to run a government that way, that everybody comes. I mean, someone like Musalia Mudavadi is in the cabinet. Wetangula, who is in Fort Kenya, then is also in the Speaker of the National Assembly, who is elected by majority of members of parliament. So if we find that it is important to come together and work together, like we have come and worked together under Azimio la Umoja and like we have done under Kenya Kwanza Coalition, then it is fine. But I would want to say this, and when history is written, I would like it to go that I propose and I promote democracy. And one of the ways of promoting democracy is allowing people to form parties. We have come from a situation, and we cannot forget where we've come from. We've come from a position where Kenyans were oppressed by a regime that did not allow people to form a political party. You could not coalesce somewhere and decide and forge a way in your politics. We must not go back to those days, and we must be very careful. So I am not saying we are going to go back to those days. It's not even possible, because this is a coalition of willing people. We came to Kenya Kwanza because we wanted to come and join other people and work with them. You know, when people met, there was no coercion. People just came and sat and joined hands and said, let's work with you and you and you. And then we win the government.
When you have three gentlemen, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi of ANC, National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, that is of Ford Kenya, and now Attorney General Justin Muturi of DP, who are leading the resistance, what does it show now to the government?
You know, first of all, that is the choice of that media house that has chosen to say that the Wetangula and Mudavadi are jittery.
Okay. They
actually have not made formal statements to respond to Malala. Why are we anticipating what they will say? They might not even respond to it because it was just a statement that was made by the roadside. So we should just wait. There is nothing jitter. Nobody has jitters.
Okay.
We are okay.
Okay.
We have no jitters. We are fine. We have better things to do. We are dealing with the bigger things. And I've had the member of parliament for Lagos Songa here alluding to issues that he knows have been perpetrated by their members. And these issues that he's talking about, gayism and everything, we know who goes to America to ask for help. We know the people who are supportive, who are pro-West in this country. We know it is not the government, it is the opposition.
Okay.
And it has been said previously that we know that they are the ones who what ya maandamano and what ya kitendawili and people of
we'll get to that.
Victor, please. I urge you to protect this show from pedestrian arguments. You know what he's talking about is village arguments. Now, let me say that what we are saying, what I'm asking, why I'm supporting Senator Malala is, we are not saying that we are going to change the law to make Kenya a single party or a two-party state. Actually, the Constitution says Kenya is a multi-party democracy. So, but what we are saying, this is just for the sake of debate, and we are urging these people who are controlling these kiosks in the former political parties. Let them follow the kiosk. Let's go to a supermarket. Let's have two big supermarkets to serve us. So, but it is going to be good for us as a country if we have two political parties, and then these parties can define their ideologies. Like us as UDM, we are known as a pro-poor political movement. We pursue politics of social democracy. We believe in the empowerment of the poor. We need that each and every section of this country needs to be taken care of, and we want to make life better. That's our philosophy, our political ideology. So now we need these other people, the ones in charge. These are thieves. The ones in charge. The people who believe in theft, stealing of public resources, opulence. If you look at the way the kind of life people in government are living, they live in opulence. So we can christen them as capitalists, people who believe in opulence and but then now we can have those two ideologies competing for state power. And if they win, we know that the people who have won are people who take us the direction. If ODM wins, we know ODM is a political party that is founded on the social democracy, social welfare, because if you look at the things that Baba promised, they were basically social welfare. We wanted to give Kenyans poor Kenyans money, 6,000 shillings. You saw our promises.
Right.
These guys didn't promise those things. That's why they're taking away subsidies. They're making life harder. So we need to know that this political party, they believe in this kind of politics, and with this kind of politics. We need to have two strong political movements that will be able to help Kenya entrench democracy, not ethnic.
Is that about to happen in the Azimio?
It's a good debate. It's a good debate which Malala started, and we want to advance it, so that even within the Azimio, we can still also fall in Azimio, and then we can have one strong movement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, Mheshimiwa, when you look at the three gentlemen speaking, somebody would argue that this is just a scripted kind of, of play. The three gentlemen now coming, whether it is there's no official communication to that or otherwise, but it seems like it's more scripted.
Well, it is wrong to pretend that we're not a government and there is no consultation, and we must read from the same script. Ultimately, because we are not a government of maandamano, we must sit together and agree on a position.
And what is the risk of having so many political parties within Kenya Kwanza? What is the risk?
Well, honestly, it's just avoiding what now could be happening, where you have disjointed communication or where you seem to be reading scripts from different scripts. It's just you want to have a homogeneous communication. This is politics, and a lot of people read a lot of things even when they're not there. So you want to have homogeneous communication coming from within. That is what informs Malala to want to do that, and that is also again what brings people together. And I keep saying, you want to come together and say we are Kenya Kwanza.
Yeah.
You want to say you are Kenya Kwanza because you want to have one singular movement that has a unity of purpose, all right? But I want to respond to what the member of parliament here is alluding to. You do not come and call people thieves, and when they say we know who it is who stole, then you say you do not want you to say. You do not come and say we won elections, and then you say you want servers to be opened, and that servers are open. Even when you oppose a government, please do it with some order, have some decorum. You can't actually just call someone a thief when you're saying we know who the thieves are, we know who stole the money, and when we tell you we want to say, you say no, don't say. But then you come and say no, we know the thieves. No, why are you don't want the deputy president to say who it is who stole. It might also benefit you to know who stole, because you don't know. You have no benefit of knowing, because you wouldn't know that is theft, because you think it is just...
We can also give him time, because the deputy president just a few days to naming the list. So
yeah, we give him time, so that
we also wait to see the media house.
Let them not come before and say no, don't say. We want to know. Wouldn't you want to know who stole?
I'd love to know.
Exactly. Everybody wants to know who stole. So let us be told.
Victor, what I was saying is that it is not in the space of the DP to tell us who stole, because the government, the constitution has given us various offices that are funded. We have the EACC, we have the Auditor General, we have all these offices. From where the man sits, I don't think he has any information.
Those are offices.
Why can't he allow the relevant officers to be the one to, because he wants to play politics with a matter which is very serious. I wish he can get out of this conversation, because we know he's not a serious person. If he was a serious person, we'd take him seriously, but he's not. So we want to urge him not to dilute the conversation. We want people who have stolen our resources to be unveiled, and they just not need to be unveiled, they need to be prosecuted. If you have stolen public money, you need to be prosecuted. That one is what I stand for and what we stand for. But we don't want this thing to be politicized. Yeah, because if he wants to do politics with it, that is unnecessary, and it is not within his space.
All right. So, gentlemen, before we take a break, I want to give you 2 minutes each, because we want to bring this conversation closer home to Gatundu South, and also bring it closer home to Alego Songa. I'll start by asking you, Mheshimiwa Kagombe, you are serving your first term in Parliament, and the people of Gatundu South also gave you that mandate. They're looking up to you for leadership. What have you done for them so far?
First of all, the challenges that we were facing initially we had serious challenges in security. And the first thing I did when I got to office is to restructure the security apparatus in the constituency, which we have actually done. And now we no longer have theft. We used to have theft of livestock and crops and avocado and everything. We have dealt with that. We have also made sure that we had a serious challenge of water. And even as we have the challenges that we're finding here, which are now countrywide and probably, bigger than that, we had some places that were very hard hit by water, so by water shortage. Right. So what we've done is that we got some 5 access points from the Karimeno Dam, and now we have access to that water that is coming out, although now we also have a shortage within the dam. But now once the rain comes and now we have proper water, then you're going to supply water supply them with water. We're also already doing a dam. And we're doing a dam at a place called Wamuguma that is going to supply a lot of people within...
Is that dam commissioned by the county, constituency, or the national government?
It's the national government.
National government, okay.
National government. So, but that's now the whole point, that you have a conversation between Athi Water and national government, and now that's why we go and do that. The other thing that we are now doing currently is because we've realized the seriousness of these water issues. And we know that even now when we sink our boreholes and we sink our wells, they're drying up because we have not been recharging the groundwater. So we have partnered with some UN organizations, and what we're doing now is to create buffer dams so that we recharge the groundwater, so that, because our people are farmers.
Yes.
And what they need most is water. So we are recharging the groundwater and tapping water to supply them with the irrigation water. We are already on at a place called Rafura project that is going to give a very good chunk of our residents irrigation water, so that in future, and this we are going to be done with by June. We'll have finished laying the pipes for the first phase of that of the Rafura Dam. And that's an irrigation project that goes all the way to even having mapped out the land that individual people are going to farm and how much water they need. Then I'm just in the process. I've just finished doing bursary, because the other thing that really pains our people is that we have no access to good education because it is expensive, and therefore what you need is to supplement them with money to pay school fees. I had about 6,622 primary school applicants. 6,000? Secondary school applicants, 6,622, 6622. And 1,800 or thereabout for tertiary institutions. And that is a huge percentage of the population that I have, because my population is about 9,500 of the people who are within secondary schools, who are secondary school going. That tells you that a huge percentage, over 90%, are in need of bursary funds. And that is why we are even asking for more support from national government. And that is why, as a government, we are asking to entrench this fund in the constitution, so that we are able to provide our people with such help. And also to make sure that education is more accessible, because some of these people are also in private schools, and others are in other non-government tertiary institutions that need to be regulated, so that the cost of education is not so high. So generally, those are the issues that we've been dealing with. But I know we have more serious issues. When the president came and we said, even despite the drought persisting, we know that there will be better times ahead. And what we've already done is that we are supporting dairy farmers by giving them coolers, so that they're able to consolidate their milk and collect the milk together and have a cooler. Right now, I've made a request to the Ministry of Livestock and Ministry of Cooperatives. They're giving us, they've promised us 4 coolers, and we have 2 more coolers coming from the Ministry of Livestock Development in the next that they've promised in the next maybe 5 or so months, because they're purchasing and then shipping. So that is what we are doing to support them. And we have now started an avocado aggregation center And we are working with the women representative from Kiambu County to form an aggregation center where we do not have people who are very organized, especially people who are where coffee used to grow and they do not have proper areas to aggregate their avocado, then we are going to aggregate it from there. The last thing that we're doing is that we've taken all the primary schools and we are supporting them with the avocado seedlings, so that they plant and they sell this avocado and be self-sustaining, so that they do not become so hard on the parents asking them for support of other things that are not supported by the government. You know, like a lot of times schools are at pains getting money to raise to pay officers like non-teaching staff, you know, watchmen and other people to cook for children and such things. So that is what we're really
Let's take a break and come back. I'm still quite interested in understanding how, two gentlemen, how you're handling the issue of education, health, and primary health care in your constituencies, and even the economic aspect for these two constituencies in Kenya. Quite important. So let's take a break and we come back. I'll come back with you, Mheshimiwa Samuel Atandi of Alego Songa, shortly after this.
Mzee aliniambia ati jana aliota na mimi. Kaya za bunuasi.
Ukumbuki uko na therapy session leo?
Mami, hiyo ni afternoon. Kuna place nafaa kuwa sahihi.
You don't abandon a child just because mistakes zimefanyika. Heaven knows you wouldn't be having a brother by now.
Unaweza nisakia kakitu, mazimi nadai kujitoa.
Suna zile biashara nyingine ilivamiwa na masanse.
Melissa, nimekuwa nikikutafuta. Sikai. Nimekuja tu kukuambia. Najua mwenye alikuwa baba yako.
Believe that there's a problem. Well, what's the problem? We counted the boxes several times, and it doesn't match with what's on the inventory. Are you aware we have this problem?
Ruben, why did you come into my room without my permission?
The truth is, I've made a decision.
And what is your decision?
I hired another veterinarian.
What do you mean, he decided? Oligario Montoya is my father, Pancho. What do you mean he decided to do it?
Ndio nataka niwachie hapa nikichome. Kutoka mafuta ipate bei, atuchomangi chai. Hiyo mambo rolo wa chanka. Siwezi kubali.
Siku ile.
Songa huko. Hii chai iko na chumvi kwa nini? Sasa mimi mtu ataniletea uchuachi.
Ushanizoea na mimi sitaki unizoe. Chukua hizi vitu zako zote utumbukize. Sitaki.
Najua uko na masikio na uko na macho hata kama umefunga unaniona. Nimekupika 7 hours.
Welcome back. All right, so to the final bit of this one, Mheshimiwa Tandi, you're going to tell us what the people of Alego Usonga have so far benefited the first term and what they should expect of you now that you're serving your second term in office. But the most important bit is the issue of bursary. I mean, we have got 100% transition to school. We have got grade 7 now. What are you doing in terms of bursary?
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Victor. I had very good plans. Remember, this is my second term. I had very good plans when I was re-elected, and these plans have been cut short because of the failure by national government to provide for resources that we need on the ground to implement some of our programs. But what I can say that I'm proud of this far is that in terms of scholarship, you know, I provide full scholarship to top students from my constituency, to whichever school they have been invited to. This year I had about 40 top students who went to Mangu, Alliance, Starehe. All those students from poor backgrounds, they went to those schools, courtesy of my CDF full scholarship program. This has done very well. In fact, if you go to some constituencies, you hear this student got 400 marks, they have not been able to go to school. In Alego Usonga, there's nothing like that. So this has been very good with the limited resources we have. Remember the CDF resources, we are in the last phase of the financial year. We're actually in the third quarter. But we have hardly received 40 million shillings out of 160 million which are entitled to Alego Usonga. So we are not doing very well. I wish Baba was the president, because you know Baba had promised free primary and secondary education. We will not be having these cases where students are dropping out of school. So alongside that, we have been pushing for the improvement of infrastructure across the constituency. I represent the largest constituency in that segment, in Nyanza and Western, because my constituency has a population of about 380,000 people and voter numbers 125,000 as per last elections. So we have more schools than my neighboring constituencies. We have more primary schools, we have more secondary schools. And so we have been trying to improve infrastructure in each and every school. But alongside that, we have also a program where we are saying that we want to have model schools award, so that we can have a ward-based model school with all the facilities, with computers, everything.
Yes.
So we have started that program. This year we are going to build a model school. We are going to improve a model school. There's an existing school called Ambrosa Dea Dongo in South East Alego Ward. Every ward we are going to have a model school. So we are committing at least 18 million shillings to build a model school in each and every ward. So in the next 5 years, we are going to have each of our wards having a model secondary school.
What can people of Alego Usonga sit and say Mheshimiwa Tandi has done something that they can, you know, is quite visible to them?
Yes, for my last term, you remember Alego Usonga, for the last 30 years, since multi-party democracy was introduced, no MP has been re-elected. I'm the first.
Actually, I was
re-elected because of my soft programs.
They usually go one term.
Yes, I have programs that touch on education and welfare of the people. Yeah, I work closely with the poor, and I work with schools to ensure that each and every school has a reliable food supply. We provide, we have selected some schools where we are supporting the agricultural programs. We are giving them seeds and fertilizers, and we are helping them to grow food. But more importantly, I work with the poor. I work with the poor women. I have programs that touch on the women, widows. Our widows are vulnerable. And
Mheshimiwa also talked about primary health care. And we talk about primary health care. You have got community health volunteers in you call the Nyamrerwa.
Yes, we have Nyamrerwa, but that's a program under the county government.
Yes.
I thank God that the current governor is working closely with us in that respect. So in Alego Usonga, we have many Nyamrerwas. Most of them work closely with me, and we have also brought
community health volunteers.
We have also brought,
I thought something was being cooked here. Now I was looking to
community health.
And what I also want to say that we are partnering with a number of NGOs that are working with us with Nyamrerwas, with the community. One of the problems we had in my constituency, a section of my constituency, was Jiga's menace. And you know, Jiga is a question of the problem of water and poverty. Together with the Nyamrerwas and a number of NGOs like AMREF, we are going deep into the homes and supporting those homes to improve the housing situation. So we are doing a lot of those programs with the community, just to lift the people. Then, of course, with the youths, we have a number of our youths who are finished university. They are not employed. There are a number of youths who are finished Form 4. They don't have jobs. So I have a program within my CDF structure where we are taking them to tertiary institutions.
Right. There's a message here to you, gentlemen. There's a lady called Silali asking, how do you benefit from your two respective constituencies? Now that, okay, they are worlds apart, but how does Alego Songa benefit from Gatundu South and vice versa?
We exchange notes in Parliament. We have done a lot of, we exchange notes and we visit. By the way, in Parliament, we are not, but party doesn't matter. If he has good idea, we will probably work together and even go to his constituency. We are doing a lot of that. Because we have to benchmark with what our colleagues are doing. There are some colleagues that are very creative. Right. Like something which the MP for Kiharu has done is something which all of us are trying to see how we can implement it. Of reducing the cost of school fee for day scholars, secondary schools to 1,000 shillings per term. Yes, so we are always comparing. There's also something which most of our colleagues have introduced, like this school feeding program. It is working well in some constituencies, even in the urban centers. We are trying to see if it can work in the rural areas. So we compare notes a lot with our colleagues and see best practices. We also visit and see the structures that they are doing. So we are doing everything. But I wish his government, his so-called government, was serious, because right now we have 3 months to the end of the financial year, and we need money on the ground. There is no subsidy. There's no subsidy on unga. There's no subsidy on fuel. And there's no CDF. So you ask us, where are these guys taking money? My brother, please stop stealing public money. Let us get public money on the ground. Tell Mr. Gachagua, tell the president we need money on the ground. Not that you hold all the money in Nairobi, in offices. Your prayers need to be less expensive. In fact, even the teas that are dark in State House need to be less expensive. When President Uhuru was there, you said there was alcohol. Alcohol was cheaper than tea. So please let us see what you can do.
How do you benefit from Alego?
First of all, it's laughable what Mwatandi is doing here. You can't. Anyway, I'll come to that. And you see, he cannot have two sentences. He's just saying this government is illegal, those things, they are stealing, you're keeping money. But you know where money comes from. Government does not have a side hustle, and government doesn't go and keep money somewhere. Government makes money from taxes. And government, he knows this thing that he's saying that there is no money is not something that came with this government. It is the previous government. They were he was in Parliament, and he knows what they did. He was in budget committee. He knows that they budgeted for money that they did not disburse before they left power. But that's not it. When it comes to issues of how communities or how constituencies benefit from each other, as he says, it is true. At times you benchmark, especially like now I've been to some different constituencies where they have school feeding programs. Yes. But what we've found out, there's something called Tap to Eat, and we're trying to implement it in our constituencies. But he will tell you that that has worked in urban constituencies because they're able to have a kitchen and then supply the food because they're smaller in size. Yeah. So we find it very challenging because our constituencies are a little expansive, so it's a bit expensive because you might have to do different kitchens, maybe in every ward, and even some wards where we come from, some of our wards are more expansive than a lot of an entire constituency within some urban constituencies. So we have those challenges, but we try to learn from each other. We have issues of, like now he has been a member of parliament before. So when we come, I ask him, how have you been conducting your CDF projects? How do you do your project? How do you spend your money? Because there are people who, there's a way you conduct your expenditure to do programs, like now something we call labor-based contracting, but it's actually not labor-based because there has to be ways within the law that you look at it and so that it's not illegal. So those are issues that we talk to them and ask them how they're proceeding, and then we work together. There is also something called G-Unite. that we are now promoting from the Ministry of Education that helps children from our constituencies go to other constituencies and have some sort of an exchange program.
Localization.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and they go there, see how people live in Alego Usonga. They stay there. They're adopted by a family there. They stay with them for some months or some days, and then and we are overseeing them, and we have people like community people from the Ministry of Education who go and evaluate how they're living, so that we also get we get a society that is cohesive. It is very important for a child from Gatundu South to go and stay in Alego Usonga and stay there for a few months, so that they understand that those people are also human beings, the way they live, their their culture, understand all those things, so that when you bring people to parliament, you do not bring someone like Atandi who thinks that people from Gatundu are thieves and they're animals and they eat people. That. So Victor, so that you bring someone who is fully formed.
I don't think like that. That's not me.
That's a lighter note. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm told you're running out of time. We've done more than enough that we bargained for. Thank you so much for coming to the show. That is Samuel Atandi, Member of Parliament, Alego Usonga, and Gabriel Kagombe, MP, that is of Gatundu South. And you as a viewer, thank you so much for waking up with us. Until this particular point, that's where we wrap it up on Iron Politics. Until tomorrow, have a good morning. Bye-bye.
Very good.
In the world that we live in, we can't avoid using the digital devices. We use them in all sorts of ways. We have our phones, tablets, laptops, and computers. And now we talk about smart devices. And the more and more we use this, we find that we're using smart TVs in our homes, smart appliances. We have electric meters now that are being modernized, and they're right in our houses. We have CCTV in our houses. We have more integration and connection to the internet. This is going to be part of our day-to-day. So we need to know how to, live with this technology and use it securely.
When you were all growing up, your mothers or your guardians all taught you to wash your hands when you came from the bathroom or before you ate food, because washing your hands, that personal hygiene, stopped you from contracting a disease. COVID came and we all knew that we had to sanitize or wash our hands or wear our masks or social distance. Once again, personal hygiene measures to stop us from getting infection. Coming to the digital realm, cyber hygiene, these are now habits that you need to practice every day whenever you go online to secure yourself from the cyber criminals. Because on the global average, a cyber attack happens every 39 seconds. So there are cyber criminals prowling left, right, and center. And if you don't know how to secure yourself and your information, then you're going to be the next victim of a cyber criminal. In cybersecurity, we focus on looking at risks, but the digital realm has a lot of benefits. And that's why by practicing these cyber hygiene practices, you're able to reap the benefits of digital transformation while securing yourself from criminals. And criminals are everywhere. Even when you leave your house, you don't leave your front door open, you lock it. So it's the same thing. Go online, practice cyber hygiene, stay safe.
I was brought up in the rural areas, and the first time I came to Nairobi, the big city, I was conned several times because I didn't understand that some of the people who would greet you, they don't know you, but they greet you and then they tell you stories, and then you end up giving them some money, and later on you realize it's a lie. But after living in Nairobi for some time, I got to know these kind of tricks. And even when con men would approach me, I would just laugh and tell them, try another day, because I think I've gotten to know how you guys operate. Now, this is what's happening in the cyberspace, that when people newly come into that space, you find that they don't know all the things that can happen there. Not just good things, but also things which can harm them. And if they're not given the information, you find they've been bullied, they may have lost some money, they may have lost some information and things like that. In the recent past, there have been several initiatives such as the FCDO, Kiktanet, the government of Kenya, others, have been working hard to include those persons who have in the past been left behind and make sure that they benefit fully from this technology. Now, especially as Kenyans, we all know how we have benefited from information and communication technology. We are using it to entertain ourselves, but more and more, we're also using it to do our work. It's being used for commerce, people to buy and sell. It's being used to transfer money, to save, to take loans, to do so many things. And the vulnerable and disadvantaged persons are people who are a little bit left behind in this change. Some women, people in the rural areas, some of the youth who have low incomes, some people engaged in very useful things like farming, but which in the past have not used a lot of information and communication technology. So to preempt such things from happening and even discouraging such people from using the technology, we are really keen to give them good information and to prepare them for all the kinds of things that they need to do when they're in this space, to keep safe, to be protected from bad actors in that space, and generally just to have a good experience and to benefit from the technology.
My name is Model Kimulu. I am a cybersecurity, counterterrorism, crisis management lawyer. On the global stage, we're currently only a handful of cybersecurity lawyers on the African continent. I may be one of the only ones. I'm also a former central banker, but I also wear the hat of a Google Women Tech Maker Ambassador.
My name is Dr. Paula Musuva. I've been a lecturer for the last 10 years. I'm a specialist in the area of information security, and I was co-opted into this project as a consultant.
My name is Dr. Catherine Gitao. My background is I was an academic for a long time, almost 25 years, finishing as the director of the School of Computing and Informatics at the University of Nairobi. I've also worked on the international stage in the area of cyber diplomacy at the United Nations. And more recently, I've been a public servant, holding high-level positions in the area of information and communication technology, finishing as the Chief Executive Officer of the ICT Authority, which is the state corporation in charge of ICT issues in the government and beyond. Well, I believe that this is a very noble initiative, and it is something for everyone. And in the next few weeks and months, there's going to be television adverts, radio, all kinds of communications on this issue that we are calling cyber hygiene. And I would encourage everyone to start adopting these practices so that they can be safe, so that they can enjoy the technology without suffering any embarrassment or any loss, and to discourage those who are really not helping us because they are misusing the technology to harm others, to steal from them, and to do other negative things on this technology. So let us all have good values. Let us use this technology for very good purposes. And at the same time, let us all adopt the cyber hygiene practices, especially stopping, thinking, and checking, so that this will become a safe space for all of us.
From an information security standpoint, we talk about three essential components that we always want to consider when talking about risk. The first is the risk to confidentiality. The second is risk to the integrity, and the third is a risk to the availability of our information systems. So we want to encourage you to stop, think, and check before you act. A moment doesn't go by before you receive that text or that call from somebody who's asking you to, confirm something or send something to them, right? Nitumie kwa hii number. What we want to ask you to, whenever you get those requests, is to first of all stop. Evaluate the request. Does it make sense? Does it raise for you any red flags? Are you suspicious about some of those things? Are those requests misplaced? Why would somebody be telling you you've won a competition if you never even participated in it in the first place? So I want you to think fast. Do not respond out of emotion. Think about what the person is asking you to do. And when you're in doubt, probably the best thing to do is not to act at all. Ignore the message. Don't send that M-Pesa payment until you've really confirmed who the person is.
When you go onto these e-commerce websites, many of us are doing that. We're ordering things online, and they ask you for your personal information. I have seen that really lovely pair of shoes, and I really, really want it. It's end month. This month I'm buying myself that shoe. So I go onto my online platform. What do? Give all my information, my name, where I live, my telephone number. If I'm using a bank card, I put in my bank particulars without stopping to think. I am actually giving them all the information. How can you secure yourself against that? If it's like if they have an option of mobile money payments like we have in Kenya, where you can do M-Pesa. M-Pesa is more secure. If you're going to use your bank card, then you rather do it through a payment service for a provider who act like an intermediary between you and the seller, and who kind of secure your transaction, as opposed to giving the seller all your information. And we have a lot of payment service providers, amazing ones in Kenya and within the region, who offer those facilities. But do not go giving out all your information on these e-commerce sites, because that's where I would just garner information and use that information to once again come compromise your accounts. At the end of the day, the best cyber hygiene protector is your gut. Stop, think, check before you do anything, before you download any app, before you spend any money, before you share any personal information. Secure yourself, secure your family, secure your finances. Don't spread hate, don't spread anything. Stop, think, check. It applies in cyberspace, it applies in real life.
Let's learn and let's love. And don't forget to make it fun.
No need, I'll take it.
Come on, let me help my little sister. I've got it. Drop. You're shy?
Nothing to be shy about.
Oh, but you are now.
My best friend is pretty much part of my family. She would never do anything to betray me.
I told you before, I'll buy you the same one. But I couldn't find it. Finally, I had time.
I also brought you some breakfast, your favorite egg roll, and also a sandwich.
No need. I never eat breakfast. May I have some? Jenny bought this food. Ask her.
Abantu ba Minto Mbuyamole.
Your favorite KBC station, Minto FM, is now at your doorstep. Enjoy the hottest KC music, informative and entertaining shows, and reliable news only on Minto FM. Tune in to Minto FM on 91.7 FM in Nyamira, Kisii, and its environs. Minto FM,
All right, welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking with us. It is now 1 minute past 9 a.m. You're just in time for the next conversation of the day this fine Monday morning. Thank you so much for sticking with us. This is KBC Channel 1. This is Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much for being around for this next part of our conversation this morning. Now, before we, came back, we just got a glimpse of a feature on cyber hygiene, and that feature is what leads us into the next conversation this fine Monday morning. And this is all about big tech accountability in Africa. What is our role in keeping big techs accountable? How can we regulate big tech conduct in terms of the content they have, content moderation? What is our role in this? Remember, big tech firms are dominating our platforms. The African market is full of big tech. How safe are we in terms of this? To help us in this particular conversation, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by none other than Kennedy Wangari, who is a data analyst at UNEP. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much for having me.
And it's a pleasure. How are you feeling?
I'm happy to be here.
Good.
And yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And of course, we invite you to be part of this conversation this fine Monday morning. The hashtag, as always, is... Thank you so much for sticking with us. Let's start with, first of all, understanding, because we're talking about big tech, Kennedy.
Yes.
And this terminology might be foreign to somebody. Big tech. For somebody who's not tech savvy, somebody who doesn't understand this particular term, just basics. What do we mean when we use the term big tech?
Great, that's a good question. When we talk of big tech, we basically describing the companies that are dominant in the information technology sector. And we're looking at the different areas, such as companies that are leading in social media networking, companies that are leading in artificial intelligence, accelerated computing, e-commerce websites, the different areas of information technology sector. And in this case, we're looking at the companies that are leading in the different areas. And most of them come from the US or the Silicon Valley, and examples would be Google. We're looking at Meta, formerly Facebook. We're looking at Netflix. We're looking at Uber. We're looking at these big tech companies that are leading in the different areas. Google, Facebook, TikTok, would go on and on. Yes.
Amazon.
Yes.
All right. So based on your definition, so it means tech companies are classified?
Depending on the different sectors of the tech space that they're focusing on. You've talked of Amazon, looking at the mainly in dominant on e-commerce. If it's Facebook, we're looking at social networking, that is the social media company. If it's TikTok, if it's Google, if it's self-driving cars, we also have companies that are also dominant in that area. So there are a lot of different sectors in the tech space, and we have different companies that are they're really leading in those areas.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow. Quite interesting there. Yeah. Means this conversation is touching on everybody.
Absolutely.
There is no one that can be left out of
Absolutely,
this.
Yes.
Everybody is part of it.
Considering that tech is an enabler to almost everything, and that's why we're excited to have this conversation that's building up on cyber security hygiene, and today's conversation all around social media networking and the companies. So we would go on and on. Probably maybe sometime we can also look at other different sectors of IT and the big tech companies.
Oh,
yes.
Wow. And I'm interested in getting your view on this. From where you sit, you've mentioned all these companies, big tech companies, and it is just recently that we've been seeing a lot of court cases. People suing some of these big tech companies, matters concerning disinformation, hate speech, violence, you name them. So do you feel like there is a gap that needs to be filled when we see such cases, big tech companies being taken to court?
Absolutely, there's a huge gap. If you were to compare African markets and the European markets, these big tech companies, they're mainly dominant and come from the US, the European markets. And if you look at how they've been operating, they already court cases of Google, Meta, and the rest. They've already been fined heavy fines, such as anti-competition laws. And again, if you also look at the same, we're looking at these big tech companies, as you've also mentioned. They're now invading the African emerging markets to dominate the markets, and also to even also within the African context.
Let me stop you there. You've used the word invading. Invading. Is it invading? Is it dominating? Which is the best terminology? And how can you invade something that is vacant?
For these big tech companies, they've realized
you will come to your point.
Yes, but they've realized that we have a huge opportunity for them to grow their businesses, be it in e-commerce, be it in social media, and considering that Africa has that huge market, so that's what we call the emerging market. They've come to a space, and when we talk of dominating and also invading, it's because we're looking at they're not following the rules of the land. If you were to look at the African context, as I was putting my point across, there are already cases that have been filed even here in Kenya. You'd go on and on, look at in Nigeria, South Africa, name them. There are a lot of countries even within the African context where these big tech companies are now penetrating, that we already have court cases of these companies being sued because of 1 or 2 or 3 reasons. Say that maybe they're they're violating the rules of the land, or they're not really taking care of the data of the users, of the people they've been able to onboard on their platforms.
And when you look at that, it means that now this gap that is there, you've mentioned that this gap that is there, whose responsibility is it to fill it? Does the common mwananchi watching this show today have a role to play in ensuring we have big tech accountability in Kenya and in Africa at large?
That's a great question. We all have different roles. Each and every one of us is a key stakeholder in this. One, it starts with the big tech companies. If you look at context in today's conversation is around the social media companies and content moderation and the operations in Africa. You realize that they usually have, like the case example of TikTok and Facebook, they have their social media content moderation policies in terms of how they approve their content to minimize cases of disinformation, fake news. And you find that they have very good documentation on how they promise that they comply. A good example is how they promised during the run-up to the Kenya's election that they would make sure that I would have a political terrain that a political terrain that's not polluted. But we ended up even having cases of NCIC, that is the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, already even coming up to issue a warning that if you don't take caution of these and these that's happening within your platform in Kenya, we're going to ban you. And it means that the case example of Facebook is showing us that these big tech companies, they have their social media policies, but they're just on paper. They don't really live up to follow these policies. And another concern has been, if you look at the different court cases that have been filed, be it in South Africa, be it in Kenya, you realize that when they penetrate these different countries, there's what we call the laws of the land. There's the constitution, and also like the case example of Kenya, in that Facebook was not really complying with the laws and regulations of the Kenyan constitution. You find that in those examples like of Nigeria and South Africa, you come into different country, you have your own policies of how you operate as a company, but you don't really live up to follow the rules of that particular country. And this is where, like in the US, we've had the big tech companies filed sued because of not following the anti-competition behavior and the rules.
So is the question about policy making, or is it about accountability or following of the policies that have been made? Is there a synchrony that needs to be acquired in this process?
Yes, we need to. One, we've seen how these companies have been operating with their own policies and being given now the permission to penetrate the African market. And we've also seen that we cannot trust them to live up to their own rules and regulations and to even follow our own rules of the land.
So it's not about policies?
Yes, and there's also the aspect of policy, and when we look at the efforts that have been made by both the governments, there's that gap that we've seen that the companies have their own regulations. They're not following. They've come to a country. They're not following our regulations. So what do we do as a country? And that's where we're now finding that the other stakeholder being the government, in this case, and the regulators of that particular country, they need to also step up to put them to be accountable. And then also the key stakeholder in this whole conversation being the end user, in this case the social media platform users. How are they sharing their data and how are they using these particular platforms? So for each of these four key stakeholders, they have a role to play. We've seen the big tech companies, they're not being accountable, they're not living up to their promises and also living up to the rules of the land. So what do we do as the government of the country, and also what is it that we as the users of these particular social media platforms, what do we need to do to ensure that we maintain that digital sovereignty, and also that we don't fall into these dangers of disinformation, fake news, and all these vices.
So you're saying, to get you clearly, from where you sit, do you have the data that indicates that these particular big tech companies, not to mention any particular one, but big tech companies have policies that they themselves are not following? Have you done that? Have you gotten to the point where you've conclusively come to that point? Because I am aware that some of these cases are still ongoing in court.
Yes.
So how did you come to that particular conclusion?
Great. We could use an example of TikTok and the run-up to the 2022 general election in Kenya. And there was a rife and a huge concern on the videos that were quite viral on TikTok, because most of them were politically ethnic and profiling and sort of inciting ethnic violence. And because of the various initiatives that were taken in place, TikTok was forced to flag down and pull down over 130 videos. And I would go on and on in the case example of Facebook, and how a report by Global Witness shared their data, and that prompted NCIC to make that ultimatum to Facebook that, you know what, this is what is happening in Kenya. This is what you're not complying with our laws, and this is the ultimatum. So the case examples of Facebook and also TikTok really paint a picture to the need for the state and non-state factors that are involved within this conversation, and also the people leveraging the social media platforms to understand and know how do we get to be more accountable, how do we ensure that we regulate these companies so that at the end of the day we're able to make best use of this digital economy, and at the same time we don't get to face the dangers of the weaponization of artificial intelligence and all these big technologies.
So is it that they are not following their own rules, or they are not following the rules of the land with which they operate? Yeah.
Both. For the cases that we've had even in Kenya.
Both,
okay. Yes. Yeah.
Wow. So if you look at it keenly, we are going to be particular even as we have this conversation, and the particularity I want us to use is when a Kenyan or anyone who is watching us today is going online, because some of these big tech that you're talking about are social media, which we all consume. What can we do as social media users to protect ourselves from some of these vices that might harm us in the long run? How can I do it as an individual?
Great. One thing, and I really appreciate the Office of the Data Commissioner in Kenya, is that they're creating that awareness and sensitizing on the need for data privacy and cybersecurity concerns. And that's one great way to make people understand and be aware of the risks and how they leverage these social media platforms. And another great way is where now the state factors are coming in to ensure that we have policies, we have regulations that make sure that we're able to put these big tech firms into accountable, and we're able to regulate what the operations in Kenya. And a good example is how NCIC was able to act in the previous elections case of disinformation and to the run-up to the election. And more to that, when we're talking of ensuring that these big tech companies, because another key huge concern has been on besides the operations on the social media platforms is on the labor practices, because if you look at some of the court cases are all around the social media content moderation and how they handle their staff within African context. So I believe there's need for the big tech companies to also employ more African-based native speakers who will really come in handy to help fill in the gaps when we're having conversation around social media content moderation, their policies, and understanding our local context. So I believe those are key efforts that we can really, as a country and also as social media users, we can be able to take up that will help us to ensure that we're able to leverage the social media platforms and we are safe online.
But we are going to come to the aspect of the government and the role of government a bit later on. But first, I'm looking at the person watching us today. Let's start from the ground, because in Kenya we're looking at bottom up. So starting from the bottom, do people know about these policies, social media policies, big tech policies? Do people understand them? From the research you've done and from the interactions you've made with many individuals, are they aware about these policies, even as they go online and use their big tech services?
Oh, great. That's a great question. That's why at the United Nations, on every year, on the 18th of June, we celebrate the International Day on Countering Hate Speech. And beyond that, we have the UN Strategy Plan on Countering Hate Speech. And this is to basically to create that awareness, to amplify the conversation around making sure that people are aware of how they're leveraging the social media platforms, both for job creation and also to maintain their safety. And above and beyond what the UN is championing for, there's also the various initiatives that are there to make sure that, and I applaud KBC for creating that awareness in terms of even we've just had a run-up on cyber hygiene to ensure that people they have access to this knowledge and they're able to play their part when it comes to the data they're sharing. And also at the government level, there are also initiatives around how these companies operate within our country. How do they collect the data from our users? How are they using the data? And I believe for an end user, there's need for us to be digital savvy, to be aware of the different platforms. And as has been mentioned, is that we make sure that before we share any information, before we share our data, we're able to verify, we're able to fact check. And yes.
Okay. And if from the UNEP, where you sit, United Nations Environmental Program, you have managed to reach out in terms of sensitization, in terms of public awareness, and making that information reach everybody out there. How is the reception? How is the information getting there? Are you meeting those particular targets and ensuring that, at the end of the day, the people you wanted to reach, you've managed to get to them?
That's a great question. Even as we look at the internet penetration and digital transformation in Kenya, it's taking shape. But at the same time, the challenges when it comes to the adoption. of this big tech. Before we even get to the point now, we're creating awareness on now the people who are already aware and they're already using these technologies on how they can use them to be more safe and secure in their operations.
Okay.
There have been a lot of challenges when it comes now to creating that awareness, and that's why the government is really doing a great job on digital literacy programs to ensure that people first can be able to adopt these digital technologies. There's been great reception to the people who are already leveraging tech. Statistically, about 40% of Kenyans have access to the internet, and we're trying in partnership with the Office of the Data Commissioner to create more sessions and more awareness to the people, and at the same time amplify their efforts towards ensuring more people are able to adopt tech. Also, as they adopt tech, they're also aware of the risks involved and what's their role in the digital space as they create their jobs, as they amplify their businesses, but more on the security aspect. Yes.
Then what are the areas that you always touch on as you go through these awareness programs that you've set up?
One has to be on the data, the kind of data that you share out there. We highly encourage people to be cautious on not just using any applications. We've seen cases of these applications that make maybe someone look older, and other applications.
Those are key areas. Those are key areas because I know some of our ladies love them.
Yes.
I know a friend who is a female showed me her face if she was a man.
Yeah.
And I really felt awkward there. So let's go slowly on those particular areas.
Yes.
Okay, we can mention them one by one.
Yeah.
So let's start. First of all, you're talking about going slow on the number of applications
in terms of the data that you share out there that are not trusted, because most of these applications, what they do is that for you, they entice you that this is what you'll get. Maybe like, would you want to get a picture of how you'll be in 10 years from now, or how you'll be in your old age?
Should avoid that.
But what we find that is that most of these applications are not trusted, and they end up stealing your data, because you're sharing your photo and then you'll get an output, a different image. And we've also been cautioned more on the kind of data that we share out there, because there are a lot of people out there crawling your personal information out there, and they could use it to for any damage. So when it comes to the number of applications that people are using, we try to encourage them use trusted sites. We have likes of TikTok, Facebook, and the other big tech, and also more on the awareness on how do they ensure their data privacy and cyber security. Also, those are the main concerns around how do we ensure that they are secure online and the kind of information they share. Yes.
So avoid using so many applications that you do not understand which a particular application is it that can have a breach in terms of privacy and information and data.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So if we are talking about that one being one of the key areas that you touch on, of course you minimize data. We are talking about being accountable, right? So you're saying it starts with us.
It starts with you.
If I'm to minimize data, once I've done that, am I safe? I have minimized the applications I use to maybe 2 or 3 that I have in my phone. Am I accountable? Am I safe? Or are there other things that I still need to do?
One other key thing that has also been highlighted in the prompt that came before this session has been on ensuring that we are conduit, or we are people who, before we share any kind of information out there, be it personal data, we first verify, we fact check, so that we don't find ourselves as vectors of disinformation or fake information, because again, that means we are violating the laws of the land, and that would lead us. And in the rise of these big tech technologies such as deep fake, which has really led to the rise of weaponization, fake videos and fake content, we really encouraging people to ensure that before you share any information, verify, fact check. That could also land you in.
It can land in problems, yes? How can you do that? Going through that process of verification.
Yes.
Because we are talking about holding big tech companies accountable.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
How can you do that, going through that process of verification? Or does it need a tech guru?
There are two ways to it. There are two players in it. One is the sender or the person sharing this information. One, verify any kind of information you share on both regulated and unregulated platforms. And regulated, we're looking at the cases of WhatsApp. Anyone could share any kind of information. But for regulated social media platforms such as let's say TikTok, Facebook, this is where now we're putting the big tech companies on their toes, because they have algorithms, and we've had cases of biased algorithms, such as algorithms that are censoring people, maybe or discriminating them, maybe based on their races. So there's the aspect of the end user. Don't verify and any kind of information. Ensure you're sharing out, verify, fact check. On the side of the big tech companies, then there's now the push for transparency. How are they building these algorithms? How are they ensuring there's inclusion of the minority groups and minimizing on the racial discrimination and openness and inclusiveness, and ensuring there's the ethical aspect. So and that's why there's a lot of controversy. And a good example is what we talked of, the TikTok algorithms and what happened in Kenya. So and the bigger concern goes back to the companies, because for us as end users, we can try to make sure the kind of information we're sharing is factual. But then we are leveraging on these social media platforms. What are these big tech companies doing? They have made the promise that we have robust artificial intelligence algorithms that are going to help us combat disinformation, fake news. But are they really living up to that? So that's why the concern on the examples of, they're making the promise that this is what the promise we're making with our algorithms. They're going to make sure in terms of content moderation and approval, we'll take care of that. But the end result is that we find the algorithms are doing the contrary. So I think the concern mainly is on how do we hold these companies accountable, because at the end of it all, most of them are not really living up to.
And most of us do not even understand or know whether these companies are living up to those particular policies and standards that they've set. What about pictures that we share? I was taking a look at some of the videos on YouTube, because many people have come up with so many research, and these researches show that we need to be careful in terms of the pictures we post online. Does an end user like you and I have a role to play when it comes to the kind of pictures we post? Should we be keen on that? And should we be selective on the backgrounds that are there on the photo, the images that are there, the numbers, the logos that appear? Do they play a role in breaking the chain of accountability?
That's a great question. And when we talk of data, we're not just looking at images. We're looking at any kind of information you share out there, be it audio, be it images, be it textual. And I mentioned something about deepfake technology. This being an advanced artificial intelligence technology that people can use to just, if they have access to images or voice data or text, they can be able to use it to clone and probably come up with a video or a fake image mimicking something that you didn't even say. And those are examples of even what we saw during election of fake videos and all that. So that's why when we are having those awareness sessions, we're encouraging everyone in terms of their data usage, in terms of the kind of information they share, be it images, be it audio, and how they leverage the different platforms, to be extremely cautious. And that's why we talked of avoid using these unauthorized or not really untrusted sites just for the thrill of it, because you've seen an application that promises you that
it looks fun.
Well, you'll get that picture, but you've already shared your data with them, and you don't know their motive. With the rise of weaponization in artificial intelligence and social media platforms, there's need and caution for us to be cautious in terms of the information we share.
And allow me to cut you short on that particular point. Let's take a break and then we'll be back. There is something that you've said that we need to just be keen. Don't just click on something just because it looks intriguing. I have seen some, online jokes that go around that send me a message. I will not know who is it that sent it to me. Are those platforms safe? And do they also play a role in this chain of accountability? Okay, and of course, after we come back from this break, we'll be taking a look at more in regards to what the United Nations is doing to promote big tech accountability. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more right here on Good Morning Kenya.
Kupata maisha kama sikiza tune yako, bonyeza star 811 star 816 hash.
Maisha ni mafupi, hivyo si vyema kumaliza muda mwingi katika malumbano. Hesabu baraka zako, wathamini rafiki zako na tabasamu ili udumishe amani.
Kupata maisha, bonyeza star 811 star 816 hash. Star 811 star 816 hash.
After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for elected leaders to deliver on their pledges.
To have clean, accessible drinking water across the country.
The hustle of everyday Kenyans is encouraged and rewarded.
Operationalizing Kerugoya Level 5 Hospital.
A functioning school feeding program.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
The percentage of AIDS in 2021 were more than those ones in 2022.
We will not politicize security, because if we do so, we endanger the country.
Every week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
One of the best ways of accelerating national development is through collaboration with county governments.
The Scorecard, coming soon on KBC Channel 1.
There's a problem. Well, what's the problem? We counted the boxes several times, and it doesn't match with what's on the inventory. Are you aware we have this problem?
Ruben, why did you come into my room without my permission?
The truth is, I've made a decision.
And what is your decision?
I hired another veterinarian.
What do you mean, he decided? Oligario Montoya is my father, Pancho. What do you mean he decided to do it?
Yes, thank you so much for being part of this show. We are back with this conversation right here. It's all about big tech accountability. in Africa. Keep engaging with us. The hashtag, as always, is Good Morning Kenya. My handle is at Ram Aguko. Keep talking to us with the official station handle at KBC Channel 1. We value your feedback as we talk about big tech accountability. What is our role in ensuring that we have regulations and promotion of good conduct for our big tech companies? Does the government play a role? What about other agencies? What is the way forward in regards to keeping us safe? Well, I'm with Kennedy Wangari. Thank you so much, my brother, for staying with us.
Thank you, thank you.
And before we went on that break, we were talking about pictures taken. And I love the fact that you're saying, you know what, just be careful with the sites that you visit. Let me just ask this in passing, huh?
Yes.
As a by the way.
Yes.
For just somebody who has gone through this, if you get a message on your phone,
yes,
that tuma namba kwa pesa hii.
Yes.
Tuma pesa kwa namba hii.
Yes. Tuma pesa kwa namba hii.
Tuma pesa kwa namba hii.
Yes.
Are such messages supposed to be handled in a for many Kenyans, they would send money to that particular messages, that particular number.
Yes.
A tip for a Kenyan watching today: when you receive such messages of kindly send money to this number, my other number is not working, or you receive a message through Facebook or any platform that so and so is in need, send money kindly, urgently to this particular number. What should you do? Course of action.
A great question. There's been rise of data breach,
yes,
and how people share, again, from how we share information, how we utilize the personal information, both from companies' perspective and also from the users. And that's why you've heard of cases of data breaches, and someone maybe will send you a text message or ask for money solicit for money from you. Well, if it's someone you know, you trust, let's say maybe I tell you, hey Ram, please don't send me the money through this number, send me to this number. If it's someone you trust and know, then that does not fall in this context. But
now you see, yes, that's what the problem is. Because you know Ram is your friend.
Yes.
And then you get a message from Ram's Facebook account or social media platform that, hey, I am in an emergency. My number is not working. Send money to this number.
Great. I'm coming there.
You're coming there?
Yes.
All right.
This is where now I was engaging Rama and you to send me money, but I engage you that these are the alternative options. But now this brings to the context of, in this case, we've had a conversation. So yes, I know you are to make a payment, but this is another alternative option. But now your concern is mainly pegged on leveraging the social media platforms when holding these conversations. And this is where now you talked of someone maybe might send you through your accounts, your social media accounts, soliciting for money, and they'll seem like as if that's the real or the holder of that particular account. And that's why we are creating that awareness. One, ensure you verify, because we've had a lot of cases recently of accounts being hacked, and that's why we're trying to also ensure that you create more secure and authentication. There are also those features that the different social media platforms allow, so that it's easier for you to enhance the security of your social media platforms. Because one way these people have been able to access or to be able to con people is that most of our social media platforms are not well secured. We have just easy to access or to penetrate accounts. So I'm able to even access, I can just do a few social engineering techniques. I access your account, and then I'm able to just go through your followers and solicit for money. So one key concern on the end users of the social media platform is enable what we call two-factor authentication, in that if someone is trying to access your account in one way or the other, you will get a notification, be it via email or a prompt before that happens. Through your phone or through a text. And there are also other ways that there's the push on how these social media platforms are handling the data, because again, for you to even find yourself landing in such cases of someone taking your money or having to send, being conned or being involved in such vices, is because these people have realized their gaps within these social media platforms, and they're able to leverage on them. So as an end user, enhance your security access in terms of how you access your social media platforms. Ensure that how you're sharing your data, you're promoting a more hygienic environment, and also make sure you're more aware of the different trends and how things are changing in terms of the social media platforms and usage.
All right. And do big techs play a role? Do they have a role in this, in ensuring that our accounts are safe and secure from attacks?
They play the largest role. But again, we've in past different scenarios, we can't really trust on them to live up to their policies and to live up to the promise that they make, that we're going to make sure if it's Facebook, it's a secure platform that you can do business, you can communicate, you can engage in different conversations, and that's why there's now the push on the companies that there is the role that an end user can play. There's the role that the government of the different countries you're operating in can play, but you as the owner of this particular company, there's the promise you've made, but you're not living up to it. And that's why you can see even in the US, they're being slapped left, right, center with huge fines. And I think that's a way to keep them on toes. And now with the more concerns on in terms of what other efforts can we put in place.
Wow. And just, okay, in conclusion to that particular area, if my account has been hacked, does it mean that there is something that I clicked on? There is a link that I clicked that made me to be susceptible to these particular hackers?
There's the rise of fake websites and links leading to different sites. There are even instances where you could type Facebook and it leads you to a different site that's cloned to mimic the actual Facebook platform. So you'll enter your details and then someone is able to steal your data and information. So there's need for you to also be keen on the different links that you click, whether shared by someone or through your Facebook. We've had cases of people clicking on any Facebook tagged posts and they end up having their accounts hacked. And
that's the question. That's the question. I was reading in one particular platform where somebody was saying, I'm sorry friends, my Facebook account was hacked. One of the comments, so many people are commenting, one of the comments was, hey bro, just tell us the truth. You clicked on the wrong link.
Yes. Is
that something that could be a reason as to why some of our accounts get hacked?
Yes, and that's why part of the awareness sessions that we do have on cybersecurity, on data privacy, we try to enlighten the users of the social media platforms on how they can be able to distinguish between a fake website and a real website, and also to more of verify and fact check. And we've even had cases of people creating up fake website for jobs and people being finding themselves on the wrong side of so it's not just on social media platforms, but even also how do we ensure we leverage in the internet space in a more secure way. So yes,
accountability, very strong and important conversation today. Let's talk about accountability of big techs in terms of now the employees and in the employment sector. How can we ensure that that is safeguarded for employment?
That's a great question, because if you look at one of the 3 lawsuits filed in Kenya, and a couple of others within the African context, they are mainly pegged on labor relations. And in this case, we find that some of these social media platforms, examples of Facebook in the Kenyan case, is that they've been cited that they've not implemented favorable labor practices in terms of maybe there was the case of Summer and how during COVID they would have some of the employees working for Facebook hosted in hotels and such. And there's need for these big tech companies, and not just big tech companies, to ensure that we are implementing favorable employment conditions within the country. We've seen some of those cases are citing examples of that some of the social media content moderators for Facebook and TikTok have been facing mental problems and other stressing issues, be it low remuneration, low wages. These are some of the issues that are being highlighted in these court cases and even in other labor relation court cases. Beyond big tech, there are a lot of concerns on how do we ensure that our employees are well empowered to really deliver impact at their job. So there's a huge concern, not just for big tech, in terms of to look at our policies and to ensure that all these companies that are operating within our country, whether they're African-based or these big tech companies, they're really living up to the employment and labor practices of the country, from the wages, from the working conditions, from to living up to the regulations of that particular country. And that's why an example that's away from big tech on social media, that is Uber, has also been on the rise, because again, for them, they're not more on big tech, they're more on transport, but they've been on the spotlight because of similar concerns on labor relations and how they treat their employees within Africa. So there's need to ensure that both African and the big tech companies, and comes to how they handle their staff, how they recruit their staff, and how their working conditions is really taken care of. Yes.
And do you feel like for all these cases that are coming up, that we're actually solving rather than just piling up these particular problems?
I would say
labor relations.
It's a great step in the right direction to making sure that these big tech companies and also African-based companies are being regulated and held accountable of their operations. And I believe that will go in a long way to minimize what we call the market dominance of these big tech companies. And at the same time, I'm looking at, if you're able to solve these problems, it means that it will be easier for, again, as Africans, we are also creative people. We can build our own African-based digital platforms. We've even had cases even in Kenya, people building social networking platforms. But then I'm looking at it, if you're able to solve these challenges at a global, regional, and national context, it will be easier for us creative minds to even build and have our own African and Kenyan-based social media platforms or tech-based platforms, compete with these big tech companies and ensure the whole conversation around inclusion, digital economy is a reality. So I'm looking at it, it's a step in the right direction. If you're able to solve these problems and put these companies to accountability, it also sets the pace for us as Africans, because even for us, even if we build these applications, we'll still face the same challenges in terms of market dominance, handling, and how we leverage the data or that our users share with our platform. So I'm looking at it as it's setting the pace.
Yes. But let me divert also, still in relations to matters concerning money, all right?
Yes.
We have buying and selling of products online.
Yes.
A very key area there.
Yes.
Because we still see instances where what you see is not what you get.
Yes.
And the money you spent isn't actually, there's no value for money.
Yes.
How can you ensure accountability in that area of buying and selling of products online?
Great. That's part of that's e-commerce, and it's taken care of. We have within the African context, likes of Kenya, South Africa, Mauritius, Nigeria. These countries that are faced these major crisis with these big tech companies. They've been able to come together and they've already crafted the Big Tech Employability Act, sort of an MOU that puts together a united front for Africa when it comes to taking care of the anti-competition laws and regulating these companies. So we're looking at it as being a way that...
Would you like to take a glass of water? Feel free, my brother. I also have mine here. So it's a good morning.
Yes.
All right. So, from where you are living in from, so big techs have a role to play.
They have a role to play, and this big MOU, or sort of the Big Tech Accountability Act, as I was putting it across, it's inclusive of the e-commerce, how we sell, how we buy online, and it's coming on board to ensure that there's a check on the government side. So that's really a regulation that has been put in place, and we look forward towards its successful implementation, hopefully, in terms of regulating e-commerce, in terms of regulating social media activities from the big tech companies. So when we look at e-commerce, it's part and parcel of the MOU that has been signed by those 5 countries, and it's also a great way towards on policy and legislation perspective. Yes.
Now, let me look at the UN, where you're at. What is the UN doing? And I don't know if you are in that particular capacity to speak in regards to that particular area, but of course you're privy to that particular information because you are the a senior data scientist at UNEP. What's UN doing to ensure that we have an advanced digital safety for people in Kenya and Africa?
Great, thank you. At regional level, that's the African context. They've played the United Nations has played a key role in the support of the MOU. That's the Big Tech Accountability Act that the 5 countries have already fronted and already implementing. It has played a key role in also ensuring through our annual celebrations, that's the International Day on Countering Hate Speech, that are we able to put together policies and not just having the various sessions, the awareness programs that we are partnering with the ICT Authority, the Office of the Data Commissioner, that we're also moving beyond that to support the government initiatives in Kenya, and also UN has set aside a day every year, 18th of June, to celebrate the International Day on Countering Hate Speech, creating the awareness, and also ensuring that we're putting together these big tech companies accountable. So there are different initiatives, but for me, I've been involved mainly with this initiatives, the awareness programs, the literacy programs in partnership with the Office of the Data Commissioner. And there are also, but for UN, it's more on policy regulation, development, and also supporting the different countries to be able to put these big tech companies into accountability.
Yes, and it must be challenging looking into the stakeholders that you're dealing with, the policies that you have, making sure that your foot is on the ground and moving. Challenges faced in ensuring big tech companies are held accountable? Have you encountered a few?
Yes, it's a tough nut to crack. As I mentioned that within the conversation, we talked of we've had challenges even at a government perspective on increasing the internet penetration into the rural areas, and for us it's also been a challenge when it comes now to creating awareness, because you probably maybe, let's say, go to a very remote area, you want to have a session around cyber security, and they probably even have never been introduced to how to use social media platforms. So that has been a challenge on trying to reach out areas that are yet to adopt technologies within the Kenyan context for the areas that have been involved. Again, We've also had challenges with enforcing the legislation. There's one thing on having
very common
policies on paper and implementing them. So that has been a challenge. Even now, we can have some very good policies. We can have even now the promising Big Tech Accountability Act that's being fronted by African countries, the UN and other actors on board. But when it comes to implementation, that's really a challenge, because another challenge that has come is the personnel that we've put on board to manage and ensure these various programs have been implemented, and then also the inadequate resources from finance, capital, human resources. I would go on and on, but it's quite a number of challenges. I believe if you're able to crack this nut as we move along, it will open a great opportunity for the Africans to...
All right. Thank you so much, Kennedy. Final question. What's your call to action? We're talking about big tech accountability in Africa. To those who are watching us today, as we wrap it up, final word and your call to action to everybody watching today.
Let's each and every one of us play their role. The government, the other regulators, let them continue the good work they're doing to ensure there's policy, there's other regulations that have been put in place to ensure that the big tech companies are able to live up to the rules of the land. They're able to comply with the antitrust laws that are there. They're able to live up with the laws that they found within our context. To the big tech companies, be accountable, live up to your policies, live up to the promise that you make. If it's Facebook, live up to the promise that you make. You don't have to wait for Kenya to issue a 7-day ultimatum to suspend your activities. You don't have to wait for another country to suspend your operations in another country. Live up to your policies. You have some of the best policies in terms of these social media platforms and the big tech. They have some of the best policies. Live up to them, enforce them. And also to the key stakeholder in this, being the end user of the different programs, social media platforms, make best use of these platforms. Be more accountable in terms of the information that you share out there, and leverage these digital platforms for your own job creation, employment, and also to advance your coursework, but at the same time ensure that you're doing it securely. And you able to embrace our best practices, and so that we can all foster an inclusive digital economy.
All right, thank you so much. That is Kennedy Wangari, data analyst at UNEP. Thank you so much for coming and finding time to join us. Very interesting conversation there today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And of course, it's important to have conversations like this, big tech accountability in Africa. I hope you've learned something, and it is on that note that we bring an end to this morning program right here on KBC Channel 1. Good Morning Kenya continues again tomorrow. Catch us again live tomorrow morning. My name is Ram Maguko. On behalf of everybody that ensured this show was a success, may God bless you. May God bless the work of your hands. Have a fantastic day. Keep it KBC Channel 1.
Today, I'm going to be sharing with you the history, the culture, the lifestyle of the beautiful people of Mombasa. So let's jump right in.
Welcome to Mombasa.
Mombasa is a coastal town in Kenya, East Africa. It is also one of the most beautiful places to explore on the continent due to its location on a coralline island in a bay of the Indian Ocean, with numerous beachfront hotels that appeal to travelers in search of sun, sand, and surf. And its Arab, Indian, and colonial European heritage make for a wide variety of sights to see. The old city has a strong Middle Eastern vibe, with narrow streets, high houses with carved ornamental balconies, and mosques and temples. The old town covers an area of 72 hectares and is inhabited by a mix of local Arab, Asian, Portuguese, and British settlers. Our first place on the list to explore was Fort Jesus, which was built by the Portuguese and is now a museum. It was built towards the end of the 16th century on the coastline near Old Town Mombasa.